Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Richard Lewis Show. 70 episodes in, and we're still going. We had a day off yesterday. Lots been going on. I'm absolutely fucking exhausted. I'm not going to lie to you. I was up all night writing an article that you'll be able to read over at aloisreports.com very shortly. Other work going on, because obviously the Clash for Cash is round the corner. So it's been a pretty tough time. But let me just say as well, we were listening to that song there, Ready or Not, by the Fugees. Straight Fire, absolutely. But it's got a special place in my heart, because when I was at school, and the song was out at the time, you know how in PE, physical education, PE, it's probably still called that. I'm just checking. I did go to school a long time ago. We used to all, go in the changing rooms together, go in the shower together at the end of a lesson, at the end of class. And there was this kid in the class with us, and somewhat embarrassingly, during the getting changed, he got an erection in front of everybody in the boys' changing rooms. Now, Chippy, as he was affectionately known, this happened to him. And the song by the Fugees for the rest of that term, for the rest of school, was Ready or Not, Chippy is hard, you can't hide. We just sing that to him constantly.
We're gonna find you.
The thing is, well, because obviously it was mortifyingly embarrassing. Like the kid did have a bit of a cry about it. But it just goes to show, there's worse stories, right? But that one's PG-13. We can tell that. But yeah, poor old Chip. Hope you're all right, mate.
All still mates.
All still mates. Ready or not?
Gonna find you.
Oh, good times. Right, so look, dude, as I said, today's show is going to be like pushing a fucking boulder up the hill, mate, because I'm knackered. I don't have a lot of energy. I've got all sorts of stuff here to keep me alive, a combination of pills and various fluids. Let's hope it's enough. But let's start with what we were going to end the show on last time around, and that was catching up with what has been going on over at Evergreen. So where we left the situation at Evergreen, and again, I'll just give you a brief recap of what I mean when I say Evergreen, although I'm sure people who watch the show regularly will indeed know what Evergreen is. But Evergreen State University has basically descended into mob law. It's like a Jello Biafra spoken word poem, isn't it? And basically what's happened is, that there's it's a lawless place. It's mob justice. The mob that is out there is a group of students who claim to represent the values of social justice. And in particular, what they're pushing back against is racism. That's what they say, isn't it? They say they want to stop racism. So I'm just going to tell you what their idea of stopping racism is. They're going around taking teachers and professors hostage because a Jewish professor refused to stay off campus on No Whites Day. So just to summarize their argument, we want to combat racism by oppressing a Jew. It seems reasonable when you lay it out in black and white, doesn't it? One of the most oppressed groups in modern history. Yeah, sure. Let's compile that. Let's compound that, because at the end of the day, we've got these other fictitious Nazis to be angry with. And even though I believe the Nazis had some sort of beef with the Jews, if I remember rightly in history, we're definitely not Nazis. All right, we're oppressing a Jew this once, but it's completely different. And if you take it out of context, you're being wrong. So obviously, a lot has happened. Thankfully, the media gaze has fallen onto Evergreen. Brett Weinstein wasted no time. I'm pretty sure he's quite keen on the idea of leaving the university. I certainly hope he does. We could have another Jordan Peterson on our hands. He is a mathematics professor. He wants out. He's done with it. And he went on Joe Rogan, spoke very openly about the madness that's going on there. His Twitter feed is a goldmine of the collective insanity that he's having to endure. But that's a situation where Evergreen was, and where we left it when we last talked about it on the podcast was that there had been a threat phoned in. Apparently somebody was going to come to campus with a Magnum 44, like the most realistic of guns, and shoot people. Now, I don't want to be disingenuous here, but given how insane this group is, I'm just going to file that under didn't happen. I think that's another fake hate crime, which we know the left are very fond of in 2017 and certainly at the end of 2016. So they had to shut the campus down. All the students and faculty who aren't involved in this are incredibly bored. But there's been more developments there in Evergreen. Now, first, I want to just start by rewinding. Because how does this insidious way of thinking find its way into universities? I've often talked about this. I'll say it again. Social justice, the clue to why it is despicable is in the name. You see, in every other civilized society, we have a judicial system that is free, supposedly, from bias, free from, people bringing their own personal brand of politics to the table. If I'm tried with a crime, I get a jury of my peers ultimately making the decision based on the evidence. It's not just some person who might be prejudiced towards me. The idea of true justice is always represented that, justice is blind, that in a court of law, the poor person and the wealthy person are exactly the same. Doesn't always pan out like that. Obviously, if you can afford better lawyers, better legal defense, better experts to build a better case, you have obviously a higher percentage of beating the case. But in principle, that's the thought process behind our justice system, and every justice system that I think is worth a damn. Now, social justice, you see, social justice. Oh, it's like justice. Well, I like justice. I like justice. I like the idea of justice. Justice is, the fairness, societal fairness playing out on a grand scale to ensure people aren't discriminated against, to ensure people aren't unfairly treated. I like the sound of justice. Justice sounds good. What could be bad about social justice? Well, you see, inherent in the term is the explanation. Social justice is about leveraging your position within society to make up for perceived slights, be they real or not. So in other words, there is an expectation that if you have a position of power, if you are sympathetic to the concept of social justice, you will abuse your position. You will misuse your power and influence to level the scales, even if the scales are, not uneven. The only place they're uneven is in your mind. That's what social justice is. Now, that's why I have a particularly hard time getting on board with it as a concept, because then surely, the explanation is you've got very slight stuff, which I don't even necessarily disagree with. For example, let's say if an institution does have a disproportionately high number of white people in it, maybe you mandate that we will interview at least X amount of candidates from minority groups. Now, a lot of people say to me, Richard, how can you agree with that and then talk about meritocracy? I just don't think it hurts. The idea is agreeing to interview X amount of people from that group is ensuring that fairness is being played out. They've still got to nail the job. We can talk about how there's a slight unfairness, a slight imbalance, whatever. I don't mind that quite so much. I don't mind that. I can live with that. I don't need to hold a placard and beat my feet about it. That, to me, is the kind of first step on the rung of social justice, right? And I'm okay with it. Where it starts going ridiculous is where it's like, well, we just won't interview any white people whatsoever. In fact, we will exclude white people from this particular job because we've got enough white people hired. That obviously isn't okay. I don't agree with or support that. And then the further up the wacky ladder of social justice you go, you end up in positions where it's like the genderqueer otherkin believe that the trans people have it better than them, and therefore we should push back against the mightily empowered trans people. Unfortunately, that's where it ends. And it's a pyramid of insanity with the absolute lunatics at the top and the well-meaning idiots, I suppose, which I'd probably include myself with, right down at the bottom. I'm at the very bottom of the social justice pyramid. But it is a disgusting kind of thought process. It basically diminishes everybody to either the role of enemy or ally. And if you're an ally, you abuse your position, you abuse your status to fight the cause. And that means that's why you've got journalists that are social justice activists who just lie continuously, in print, knowingly. They sacrifice the tenets of journalism to tell lies for the greater good, for the cause. The greater good is probably, you get all these people who go, civilization and war, it's all about economics, isn't it? Or it's all about religion, actually. No, you'll always find that at any particular point in society, there is a thing that is deemed the greater good that we should strive for above all others. And that can drive us to good places. Very often it does initially. And then more often than not, it'll drive us to shitty places. This is why civilizations are on kind of a bell curve. You know, they rise, they fall. And that's a conversation for another day. My point is that social justice is insidious. And once it's infected something, unless you completely scorch it out of the area and then bleach it and vow never to entertain the nonsense again, it will eventually eat whatever it infests. It will eat it out from the inside and leave nothing there. It's all it's interested in. It's a virus. It just self-replicates nonsense over and over again till everybody is an oppressed minority within that group. Everybody hates each other. Nobody can get along or come together to achieve anything. And no group, no structure can exist in that sort of environment. So that's social justice. Now, as I said, how do we get social justice to the degree that we have it on Evergreen and in campuses in general? Well, I'm going to just show you the guy that we've seen, George Bridges. We talked about this before. George Bridges is a guy who was a well-meaning idiot. He was a well-meaning idiot, Sam. He wanted to open the doors to the concepts of social justice. He could see there were inequalities in society, and he thought the best way to address those was by pandering to a group of mentally damaged individuals. I suppose it's a natural inclination, isn't it? If you're a compassionate human being, you see somebody who is telling you something is absolutely real to them and it affects their lives and it makes them miserable and they just want to beat it. They just want to defeat it. And you go, all right, I kind of know what you're saying is stupid and I know it isn't real. But in a moment of human compassion and using my position, as is the social justice credo, I'm going to lean down and offer you a hand and let's do something. So with George Bridges, it was, as you can see from this link we're about to open for you, it started with the idea of trigger warnings and safe spaces. Started with the idea of trigger warnings and safe spaces, which I've often talked about. You know, look, if you go to university, that is an environment that honestly should offer you physical safety. Yeah, absolutely. You should have campus security, for example. You should have counselors. You should have privacy. All of these things are kind of in that nebulous term safety. What you shouldn't have is safety from ideas that challenge your own, because that's not what safety is about. There's nothing unsafe about hearing somebody else's opinion. I'll do a quick example. Sam, I think Jose Mourinho.
Sorry, I thought you were going to give an opinion there, man. Sorry, guys.
I think Jose Mourinho, despite performing worse than Louis van Gaal, is still the right man for Man United. There you go. I think he's going to get it done. I think they'll be back winning, more trophies. Of course, they did get the UEFA Cup. I think they'll even make a title challenge if he spends in the summer. Did you might disagree with that, Sam? But are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Mate.
You all
Sorry,
right?
I was just prepping myself. I'm used to these safe spaces nowadays, man.
Exactly. You know, the idea of a safe space is absurd, isn't it? When it comes to ideas, that's not what safety is about. And trigger warnings as well. Richard, how can you be against trigger warnings? I think we have enough trigger warnings in society. For example, if I'm an adult and I enter an adult institution like, I don't know, a university, and I'm studying a course which has adult themes in it, I may be exposed to adult material, mightn't I, Sam? I think that's a reasonable expectation. I shouldn't have to look at the page and go, well, okay, I'm about to read a book. Now, this course is called Sexual Representation in Modern Literature. Am I going to read things that might disturb me? Possibly. I think it's almost implied. You're going to have to touch upon, fantasies, potentially rape, potentially types of sex you're not comfortable with. It's going to be there. These are what writers used to do back when we were allowed to have an imagination. And back when we didn't have to make every piece of writing, every sentence committed to the written word politically correct and fully inclusive, which this is the language of fascists. So a trigger warning, again, I think if you need a trigger warning, it actually speaks to you. It says that you're not a fully equipped adult. Maybe you should take a look at what you're doing. Now, again, you're going to say, Richard, but what about, so let's say, for example, PTSD. If there's a fireworks display, and you're all for the troops, Richard, you're all for the troops, and a soldier who's come back from a war zone hears the fireworks, and he might get PTSD triggered. I mean, there is, honestly, if I'm just being completely honest, there is a part of me that thinks, grow the fuck up. Yeah, of course there is. Of course there is. Because I can't relate to it. But equally as well, I think, okay, again, in the same way, there might be a little bit of social justice I'm willing to entertain. I'm not an absolutionist. I'm not an absolutist, I should say. I might be willing to entertain where people have genuinely suffered, fully diagnosed by a doctor, not by Tumblr, PTSD, and they can have these adverse effects. Yeah, maybe it is appropriate to let them know. Does that mean that no, we shouldn't have fireworks at all, though? No, I'm not feeling that. And I don't compare a soldier who's probably seen his mates blown to smithereens in front of his eyes and had to pick up their body parts and put them in a body bag to take back for a military burial, which actually does go on. They do look to secure bodies, by the way. If you think I'm making a wild example up, I'm not. I don't think they're the same as a first-year student who is troubled by the idea of aggression in sexuality because they saw an episode of Game of Thrones that made them uncomfortable. I don't think these people are the same, and I think the overall use of trigger warnings in academia is silly and infantilizes the academic process. That's what I believe. Now, this is the piece of writing by George Bridges, head of Evergreen University. Why students understand what a need is. A need is food, a need is water, a need is oxygen. These are needs. Students need trigger warnings and safe places. You do not need those things. That's inarguable. The premise is already flawed. Those are luxuries handed out to decadent rich kids. Okay? I didn't have a safe space when I went to school. Did Chippy have a safe space when he was getting wrecked by Fugees? No. We didn't get safe spaces. We turned out all right, didn't we? Safe spaces and
speak for yourself, man. Chippy could be wanking in bushes for all we know.
I'll try and track him down, like make sure he hasn't been instituted. That would be bad.
If him on Stinson Hunter.
Yeah, Ming now. I don't know why he would be on that. Ming now and now Chippy. So
I don't know. No, I'm just saying you're so confidently sound. You don't know where he is, mate.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so the point is, that it's not a need. And this was in reaction. This is a long time ago. So this is like almost a year. August 29th, 2016. So let's put this in the context of what's happened at Evergreen and let's look at this piece of writing. So the University of Chicago had said that they will not do, the dean of the University of Chicago said, we're not going to do trigger warnings in safe spaces. We're a university. And I fully applauded that stance at the time. George Bridges doesn't. He says the University of Chicago's recent welcome to its incoming class wasn't welcoming. The message conveyed in a letter from the Dean of Students revealed a profound indifference to concerns that many students now bring to colleges and universities. Yet how colleges and universities respond to these concerns often proves critical to the success of students and to the freedom of faculty in educating an increasingly diverse student body. Now, we'll just briefly touch on the point that when they talk about the success of students, success in any field is you go to an area that presents a challenge and you overcome the challenges it presents until you have mastered whatever that particular discipline might be, become proficient at it, and then you attain success through that mastery. What you don't do is, I'm scared, I can't do it. All right, should we do it with the lights off? No, I don't know. What if there's some balloons here? Okay, tell you what if we just do no exams? That won't trigger your anxiety. How about that? Oh, I don't know. Right. But the point is, if you're that kind of bumbling, stuttering fuck up, I think you've got underlying problems that you should probably get some therapy for first, and then come back and then do the thing. It's not that I'm unsympathetic to your problems. I just don't think an entire academic course should be tailored to factoring those problems in, and then we pat you on the back and pretend you've attained a level of success that's equal to everybody else who didn't get those crutches. That might sound incredibly harsh, but it's just the reality. It is the cold reality when you lay it out on paper. For example, we've seen recently in British universities, law students have been told they don't have to read case law on sexual assaults. Well, I certainly hope they're never having to represent anybody when they go on and graduate that finds themselves in that particular pickle just because it made them a little bit squeamish. Can you imagine a mortician saying, look, I'm all right with doing the heart and lungs and opening the chest, but bowels, brains, nah, I'm not getting fucking the Kuru. Fuck that noise, right? Obviously, you would say, look, you're a mortician, you're doing the full shebang. I don't care what makes you squeamish. If you don't want to do the job and you don't want to study it, fuck off. Yeah, it's go big or go home, isn't it? I mean, that's a reasonable expectation. Not if you're George Bridges. And he said that either Chicago University is completely tone deaf to the academic and developmental needs of many students, or is launching its own counterattack on what it perceives as an unwarranted assault of political correctness on campus, or both. I mean, both valid goals. I think saying they're tone deaf to the academic and developmental needs. No, I'm just saying maybe academia shouldn't care about your feelings. It's the field of learning. It's the pursuit of knowledge. I don't think we should water that down just because you can't take some uncomfortable truths, for example. I don't think that serves academia or society at large. In each instance, trigger warnings can alert students to genuinely distressing content that could otherwise cripple their learning. I mean, think about this hyperbole. Colleges and universities must change as the society changes. And unlike 10 to 20 years ago, schools must now acknowledge and address issues they have largely ignored in the past. Sexual violence on campuses, still haven't seen anything that suggests to me we've got more of it now than we had 10, 20 years ago when people supposedly didn't talk about it. And its effects on student victims, the impact of war experiences on veterans returning to college. Super small minority group, George, you're really reaching here. I used the veteran example knowing it was super small to prove my point. And the mental health challenges faced by increasing numbers of students. Ah, yes, the old self-diagnosed mental health challenges. Again, I'm sympathetic about it, but I've got to say, I don't feel that pandering to perceived illness in an individual is often the way for them to get better. I don't always think that's the case. They say, imagine a rape survivor entering a class in which sexual violence is the subject of an academic debate. Yeah, that might happen, actually. I've seen many rape victims completely overcome their negative experiences and certainly wouldn't want you to You know, I know rape victims. I've already talked openly. I know people who've gone through care homes, been abused as children. They don't impress upon society their needs for sensitivity. That's their issues. They work through their issues. Or a veteran just returning from a combat. Again, they keep using veterans. How many veterans are actually in college? From a combat assignment, suffering from acute post-traumatic stress syndrome, anxiety, or depression in a classroom where accounts of war are disputed. Okay, you've got the two extreme examples, sexual assault victim and veteran. If these are the only people that we're doing it for, I would wager this makes up a very small percentage of any class. These students can make critically important contributions. No one's saying they can't. But if we refuse to acknowledge that they also have unique barriers to participating in that discussion, we send the message that they are not welcome. Not sure we do. As a lifelong educator, I've witnessed firsthand the negative impact that reliving personal trauma in a classroom can have on a student's academic performance. Indifference to such traumas diminishes a student's likelihood of success. A simple warning about troubling content acknowledges students' unique personal circumstances, enables students to prepare and adapt if necessary, and fosters a classroom climate focused on the student as a learner with unique capacities and assets. And here's the kicker. At the Evergreen State College, oh yes, Evergreen, I remember thee, where I serve as president, 90% of our students belong to at least one group traditionally underserved by higher education. First-generation college students, low-income, people of colors, veterans, people with disabilities, or students of non-traditional age. All right, so what you're saying is, George, you run a special university. You run a special establishment that has people that do have all of these needs. Perhaps in that environment, yes. Perhaps the things you propose are necessary, because you have deliberately reached out to all of these groups with all these problems and said, come here. You claim 90% of your student body fits this bill. Well, in that case, congratulations. I've had lots of people tell me I shouldn't be so hard on Evergreen because they're a noble university that means well, that cater to other students who couldn't go anywhere else. All right, then. That's very good of you. Let's start calling it a special school. Let's stop pretending it's an actual university, and let's talk about how what you're doing is these people aren't ready for society and you're giving them building blocks. Fine, I'm all right with that. Don't know if you should get the full state funding for this. Certainly still don't think it excuses 50 people walking around campus with baseball bats, taking people hostage, screaming black power. I don't think that should be ignored either, or barricading police in their offices and not allowing them to do their job and obstructing police officers. I don't think we should be turning a blind eye to all of that. But okay, you're telling me all of these people have developmental needs. So fine. Let's call it what it is, though. Let's stop pretending you are a serious academic institution. These students face personal challenges that many in previous generations didn't. Many are reluctant to engage faculty and staff with questions or arguments out of fear or failure or rejection. Again, these are feelings, don't care about them. They and their families have no experience in navigating college studies, debating academic issues and ideas, or pursuing critical sources of financial aid. Again, I didn't have any of those things. It's sink or swim. It's academia. It's what you're supposed to do. It's how we separate the successful in the field of academia from the people who maybe aren't cut out for academia. I don't think that's an inherently evil thing to do. So he says here, in doing all of this, are we succumbing to the pressures of political correctness on campus? No, we are responding to the unique needs of many of our students solely for the purpose of increasing their academic and personal success. Nowhere does he acknowledge the difference between Evergreen and Chicago. Nowhere does he acknowledge that maybe what's appropriate for Evergreen isn't appropriate for the entire academic system in the United States. And crucially, maybe you're on the bottom rung of that ladder. Maybe you've listened to my counter arguments and you thought, hey, Richard, these counter arguments are weak. You don't really have a lot, do you? You're just saying you don't believe academia should function this way. You don't believe that we should necessarily kind of bend a system's rules to accommodate people that have all these perceived problems, which you seem to say, Richard, because I'm talking about myself, I'm talking as if I'm you now watching the show. You seem to think these things are weaknesses. And that's actually not compassionate and doesn't make you a very good human being. Okay, you might think all of those things. right? But let's just see now, with the benefit of our good old friend hindsight, which is always 2020 and brutally clear, let's see what happens when you open the door, when you say, hey, look, you are beautiful and unique snowflakes. Don't listen to them out there. Ignore the capitalist system where you work hard, you succeed, and the only person you can really blame your failures on is yourself. Ignore that. None of that is true. And in fact, we're gonna do things for you. We're gonna do things for you. This university is structured for you. So what happens? Hindsight. Well, I think we've seen, but let's just go into it. So first of all, we've obviously seen the dystopian nightmare of students literally taking lecturers hostage because they won't fire a Jewish professor who won't come onto campus on non-whites day. This isn't the day of absence that was proposed. The day of absence, as anyone who watched the Bret Weinstein podcast with Joe Rogan will now know, it's based on a play which was about a society where all the black people said, hey, let's just not go to work today, let's not fulfill our roles, and it'll make white people more mindful of what people of color and black people do within their society. Now, I guess, again, you being allowed to not go to one day of lectures a year as a black student where a white student will not have that luxury, I can tolerate that. I don't mind that. I think that's fine. I think maybe, yes, maybe we should think about it a little bit now and then. We're not so far away from some dark times in our history. I'm all right with that, right? Again, maybe that makes me one of those well-meaning idiots. Maybe I'm the great enabler for all the horrors of social justice once it goes to the extremes, but I don't mind that. As soon as you subvert that, which is what these lunatic students did, and start saying white people are not welcome on campus, and you create a militarized zone where any white people coming on campus will be threatened, attacked, or taken hostage, and just screaming black power while you're doing it. No, now I want to send in a riot squad and see you truncheoned and locked up. You know, I'm sorry. This is not how society should operate. Well, this is what happens when you open the door. Even more madness going on at Evergreen. Bret Weinstein tweeted this out, right? They have completely cut themselves off from the outsiders. Right? The outsiders being the rest of society, right? Like, they shut down their academic faculty directory, which Bret Weinstein isn't even allowed to access at the moment, presumably because he's a Nazi, isn't he? He's another one of them Jewish Nazis I've heard so much about. And you can see what he said. Cults cut off contact with outsiders for a reason. Even I am not authorized to access the faculty directory, though I am faculty. This is madness. Most recently, actually, while we're just on Bret Weinstein's Twitter feed, again, these people, it's absolutely clear who would have a motive to do this. I'll let you guys fill in the gaps if you want to make a direct accusation. I certainly know where I'd be looking if I was a detective, for example. He tweeted this out. Somebody created a fake Facebook page for him, had the wherewithal to know what his real Facebook page was, block him in advance of creating this, and look what they're posting. Check out my new babies. What, as if he's armed and got a gun. Do you see this recurring thing here? Fake phone calls for violence that never happens. People carrying 4.4 Magnums. Is that the one they use in the movies? Is that the one the Nazis use? Now they're pretending that Bret Weinstein is armed and dangerous. Look, so sick of these whiny little SJW brats at Evergreen, I'm going to make sure there's none of them left on campus very soon, though. This is pathetic. And this is a way that these lunatics are trying to, A, diminish what Bret Weinstein has to say, because they do genuinely believe he is a Nazi for saying he will not comply with No Whites Day. And they're also trying to imply that he's violent and dangerous, when I think he showed incredible patience when surrounded by a screeching mob that even stopped the police checking on him when he was safe. In fact, if you've watched all of the videos like I have, there's this one bit where they have this open floor meeting. And the argument made is, Brett Weinstein attended. The argument made is, if we're so dangerous, why is Brett Weinstein here? He obviously doesn't feel threatened. Oh, right. Okay, let's put the onus on him then. That's like saying if an assault victim goes to court to testify against the person who beat them, the beating can't have been that bad, so we may as well let them off. The logic of that. So this is the face. Take a look. It starts with well-meaning bullshit and it ends with this every time, consistently across the board. Let me show you, by the way, this group. Try not to be too intimidated. I know this might be tough for some of you. Let me show you these cupcakes that are walking around trying to make themselves look tough. They posted this to Instagram. It's absurd, isn't it? I mean, just look at this. Watch out, guys. We got bats and we know how to use them. Like, holy shit. And not a natural hair color.
I'm not convinced they do know how to use them.
I don't think so. There's a lot of jokes I could make, but I'm not going to because they're not appropriate. But this is their intimidation attempts. They're walking around saying, watch out. And actually, that chick with the green hair, if you see her up there, she's been on Twitter before saying, fuck all men. I hate all men.
So
reasonable.
She's just mounting it as well. She ain't even doing nothing. She's just pausing, just mounting the wall with her other leg.
Yeah, well, good for her. Maybe that'll cheer her up a little bit. I don't know. It reminds me, actually, there's a scene in Futurama where, have you seen where Bender becomes like a wrestler and his gimmick is he's a female wrestler?
Yeah.
And it's called the Gender Bender.
Yeah.
Right. There's this bit where they're talking up his title fight, and he's on a bed, and he's got like a tutu on and like blonde curls, and he's on the phone, and he goes, "I'm a real toughie." And he's got a clip here. Just play this, mate. That's what I think when I see this picture.
There we go.
All right. Well, see, people know. But it's ridiculous, isn't it? Like they're trying to intimidate people. But again, these are the people, by the way. Okay, if you want to bring the picture of them back up, these are the people, by the way. Okay, that George thinks need safe spaces. That these people are so intimidated and horrified and dealing with all of these problems, these injustices, that they couldn't learn. They can't read a book. They can't write an essay. Won't you think of their feelings? Well, actually, looks like they've got a good handle on to conquer problems. No gender assumptions intended. You man up and you get a baseball bat, don't you? And you knock those problems down and they look fairly capable to me. So fuck your safe spaces. And fuck your trigger warnings, because clearly you have realized that you can tackle problems head on with violence. Good for you. What a wonderful lesson to learn. I think your brand of violence won't be the same as other people's brand of violence. I'd be very careful about going down that route, but good for you anyway. It's good that you're LARPing, right? And pouring drinks on people for writing biscuit on walls. Good for you, right? So where's all this going, right? It's interesting. I don't really know, but you remember we had the guy Matt Manueller. Matt Manueller is the representative that said, you know what? If this continues, we need to have a serious conversation about the $26 million in state funding that Evergreen gets, and we need to take it away because this isn't how a university operates. And obviously now there's a little bit of panic going on. So they put a statement out, and Matt Manueller tweeted it out and said, the Evergreen Board of Trustees has said this, and it's a good first step. I'll just read you the statement here. It says, renewing our commitments to tolerance and respect at Evergreen, a statement by the Board of Trustees. For nearly 50 years, the Evergreen State College has fulfilled its mission to provide an exceptional education for the students of Washington State so that they are prepared for the workforce and society. Our graduates have highly successful careers in the sciences, arts, technology, government education, as well as other fields. The fact that anyone from this college would go into work in government terrifies me, honestly. We are deeply committed to ensuring that Evergreen provides a civil, safe campus environment for all. During the last week, the conduct of a small percentage of Evergreen's community members exhibited unacceptable behavior that is completely contrary to Evergreen's values. Look, everybody, a condemnation. How long did it take? Well fucking done. You fucking group of pond scum, you absolute bottom feeders. Now that your money is threatened, let's condemn the violence. Fucking transparent pigs, aren't they? Anyway, although almost all of the students continue to attend classes and receive the extraordinary education that Evergreen delivers, the lack of tolerance and respect displayed by a few during these recent events and disruptions is indefensible. Freedom of speech, civil discourse, and open debate has been a cornerstone of our country's history and Evergreen's history. In difficult times, these pillars become even more significant. Intellectual inquiry, freedom of expression, tolerance, and inclusiveness are core tenets of Evergreen's philosophy and approach to education. Anyone who prevents Evergreen from delivering a positive and productive learning environment for all students has and will continue to be held accountable for their actions and face appropriate consequences. So they say they're still committed to leveling the playing field in higher education. You know, everything I just talked about, the abuse that social justice requires to function. But that's fine. I mean, as I said, this is a special school anyway, ultimately. And there we have it. They say that they're going to continue to work to encourage civil discourse and ensure all voices are heard and conversations are productive. And that's been communicated. And as Mr. Manuela says, it's a good first step, but I'll certainly be monitoring the situation because let's be real, that's a mealy-mouthed apology in the face of the worst thing happening. I would still love that school to get shut down, honestly. I know that sounds just so irredeemably harsh, right? But I just, at this point, I think the professors, I think the head of faculty, you're talking about safe spaces for students. What about safe spaces for your own employees? What about safe spaces for Professor Weinstein? What about the safe spaces for that little old lady that we saw just get absolutely fucking berated?
Actual safe spaces, to stop people getting hurt.
Yeah, what about those safe spaces? You failed your duty of care to the majority of your students by your own admission. You failed your duty of care to your faculty members, and it's got to stop. And unfortunately, I think it's gone too far. It took you way too long to condemn. It took you way too long to disavow. The police still haven't investigated. There's still been no arrests. And as far as I can tell, if I look at Brett Weinstein's Twitter, this shit's still going on. There still hasn't been any, palatable resolutions. So for me, nuke it from space. Just fuck it. It's gone. Take that 26 million. Start a new school if you want. Start a new school with the same goals. But let's have a different value system at the start. Let's not say, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't need all this social justice bollocks. Maybe we can just choose people who need these particular services on a case-by-case basis without any sort of greater overarching belief that some people coming to that table have it worse than other people coming to that table. Let's all just set a nice table and have a meal. How about that? So that's what's catching up with Evergreen. Now, here's what I want to get into as well, because we're going to talk about the perniciousness of social justice again, because it's like, hey, how does this happen? And there was a sort of like a meeting of college professors recently, which just blew my mind. It actually blew my mind. I'm going to just get it for you. I've got a lot of archive posts here, so let me just see if I can bring it up. Where did I put the damn thing? Here it is. So this is on the website Campus Reform. Big fan of what they do. One of the few publications that actually talks about the madness that's going on in American universities and UK universities as well. This erosion of academia being replaced with pseudoscience, mumbo jumbo, sociology, posturing as hard sciences, and taking away vital parts of learning from other areas to cater to what is effectively a lunatic cult that's in the minority. Growing numbers, because campus is where they recruit. And everything I said about Evergreen, this report should really terrify you. I'm serious. I don't, again, not hyperbole. This should scare you that this is happening. There was a conference on critical race theory. So again, it's sociology. It's just people's feelings. There's no real hard science behind any of this. Just surveys and thoughts and theories. That's fine. But these are professors and people who teach at universities and teach some of these mumbo jumbo degree courses. The absolute garbage that we've pointed to on the podcast before, like fucking elven poetry for lesbians. Oh, come on, dude. Like, we can't be putting state money into that. We just can't. If you want to learn about that shit, here's a fucking library card, you momo. Fuck off. That's taxpayer money. But anyway, this conference on critical race theory just showed what realistically you're facing, the type of thought process that's been fostered in modern universities in America. And this is, they completely changed what racism is. Okay. So racism now is something that only white people can be guilty of because it's about power. It's actually got nothing to do with race. It's about institutional power. It makes no sense. Pretty sure there was already words for that, but they've changed racism to be about that because that gives them carte blanche to say anybody who is white is racist. And indeed, they are saying that repeatedly over and over again, and it's not true. Here's some of the highlights from this critical race theory. It's not very critical of anything other than white people. You can see here Michael J. Dumas. I should be dumbass, I think. Whiteness is violent and delusional, delighting in black death in every historical moment. I am not your Negro. Well, Michael, I'm sorry you feel that way. I didn't want you to be my Negro. I wanted to judge you on the content of your character as an individual. But I suppose, really, my big problem is that I am just, delusional, and I delight in black death. I just delight in it, don't I? Because I'm white. So what else is there to do? One of the highlights came from this conference. This is Dr. Shazer Warren quoting again some of the discussions that happened. Michael Dumas, by the way, is a professor at the University of Berkeley. That's Berkeley that had all the riots. Just to let you know about that. Dr. Warren says whiteness has already been constructed against blackness. There is no virtue in whiteness. It is inherently violent. This is another quote here from the conference. Whiteness in the United States knows itself through the violence and death of the subordinated. That's another quote attributed to Michael Dumas, again, professor at Berkeley. There is no position of whiteness that isn't already violent. Professor Dumas again. And he's done this before. He doesn't need to go to a conference to do it. You can go and just read his Twitter feed. I mean, it's pretty much what you'd expect from somebody that sees evil in every white person they come across. Dr. Dawn N.H. Tafari quoted David Stovall on her Twitter feed. The term diversity of opinion is white supremacist bullshit. That's Professor Professor David Stovall, who works at the Indiana University at Purdue. He's, again, let that sink in. Diversity of opinion is white supremacist bullshit. He also adds white tears are an act of physical and political violence. We can't even cry. I don't understand. This does make me incredibly sad. It makes me incredibly sad to think that there are people out there who genuinely believe this. It makes me sad to think that maybe some black people I know do think I'm evil, think I'm a secret racist. Maybe there's people out there who haven't made their minds up on which way they're going to go on this issue of race. And they're going to hear people like this and they're going to think, well, these are esteemed black professors that have come through the academic system despite hardships. So their perspective must be the right one. It must be worth taking as fact. And of course it's not. The idea that every white person is a white supremacist or evil or hates black people is really crazy to me. I don't understand how you get there. I don't get how you get there when you see white people. You know, when we had the Black Lives Matter march here in Atlanta, Georgia, I stood there and I saw it. There was an overwhelming amount of white people there. You know, probably is even in the majority. It was a very high number, 50-50 split at least. Were all of those people racist? They're marching at Black Lives Matter. Crazy. Then, of course, Professor, these are professors. Professor Theodoria Berry said, some people need to be slapped into wokeness. This is, again, these calls for violence. These calls for violence from non-traditional, non-conformist academics. First of all, I don't know what wokeness is. I thought we weren't supposed to say that anymore, Sam. I don't know. Didn't MTV say we couldn't say it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right, okay. But again, why can't, if what you're telling me is logical, rational, and true, and there's evidence to substantiate it, why would I need to be slapped? Why wouldn't it just wake me up before you go? Why wouldn't it just
wake me up inside?
Yeah, and take me dancing tonight. Oh yeah, you've gone. That's what I don't understand about these arguments. They always end with, and they'll never get it, so let's be violent towards them. And you can see, you know, again, keep in mind, the left put out all through the campaign trail Donald Trump's rhetoric empowers and emboldens white supremacists, and it has led to a culture of violence. When Donald Trump said, yeah, you know, rough him up or whatever to that paid agitator at one of his rallies, they said contributes to a culture of violence. They didn't even condemn the mentally ill person that tried to steal a policeman's gun and shoot him. Didn't condemn him. People forget that Donald Trump was actually subject to an assassination attempt on the campaign trail, and the media ignored it and played it down. You know, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird how some violence good, punch a Nazi good, shoot Trump good, slap people into wokeness good, rough up a fucking paid agitator disrupting a rally, and you've gone too far, haven't you?
Beheading the president's fine.
Yeah, severed head, good. You know, I feel like I'm living in a world that just doesn't make sense anymore, and I struggle with it daily, honestly, because I don't understand how people cannot see these inherent hypocrisies. If you're anti-violence, you know, it's not like Gandhi when he was coming up with the idea of passive resistance. And Gandhi, as I said, huge flawed figure anyway, if you go to your reading about him. But let's imagine he's the saint that everyone says he is. You know, can you imagine if passive resistance was, yeah, well, we're not going to fight back against the British Empire, and when they come, we lay down our arms, and it's passive resistance. And if they have to kill us to win, then the true victory is ours, okay? And you're like, yeah, peaceful protest, Gandhi. And then he goes, but you know what? The Jews, eh? Let's tool up and fuck those guys. Do you think Gandhi's message has the same level of potency and mythology around it? Right? If that's what Gandhi was really about. No, it wouldn't, of course. It would be condemned. He'd be rightly pointed out as a hypocrite and a disgusting individual. Now, the left are saying all violence is wrong. Violence is bad. We condemn violence. But definitely punch a Nazi. Definitely slap people into being woke. Definitely kill Trump. Severing his head and showing it to his child. That's fine. Severing the head of an effigy. I actually had someone on YouTube say, is it just me, or was anyone else bothered by the fact that Richard and Sam said that Kathy Griffin had severed Donald Trump's head when she hadn't really? Like, come, fuck me, mate. Come on.
Well, yeah. Believe it or not, I'm not saying she actually beheaded the president, mate. It might have been slightly bigger news than our YouTube video.
Yeah, maybe just a bit. So, you're either for violence or you're against it. You either believe that sometimes violence is the only way to achieve a goal, or you condemn it universally. You don't get to pick and choose. You don't get to pick and choose. That's hypocritical. So, just another choice quote here. I like this one. What would you say about a professor, James Shurek, who, again, teaches at Purdue, which sounds like another absolute cancerous cesspit of social justice, posing as an academic a place for academic enlightenment. He says research itself, the act of research, is a white supremacist process. Research is a colonial, white supremacist elite process. No, you don't need to research anything then. Fuck it. And again, this is what I mean. They're not tearing down barriers. They're tearing down evidentiary requirements. They're tearing down what they need to prove their argument. If you say now to James Shurek and anybody who attended this lecture, oh, well, where's your research on this? Research? I don't need to do research. That's white supremacist. Why would I engage with a white supremacist process? Are you kidding me? This is the madness. You're a professor. You're a man of learning. And you are saying research itself is white supremacist and wrong. And you can see here a PhD candidate at the University of Chicago, the one that apparently doesn't have safe spaces and doesn't do trigger warnings, concluded her time at the conference by saying she was really happy and, quote, my time at this conference is coming to a close and the time has been dope and I collected a few white tears, so I'm happy. Well, that's good. And keep in mind, of course, white tears are an act of physical and political violence. So says Professor David Stovall. This is what's going on in your universities. This is the type of mindset they are fostering and harboring. And this is why the new generation of students that come out of these institutions are going to behave like domestic terrorists, like what we've seen at Evergreen. They believe that society is ruled by an evil, irredeemably so, overlord that is the white patriarchy, and there is no measure of force or resistance, hashtag, that is off limits in battling that enemy. Does anyone else not see how fucking dangerous that is? Does anyone, I feel like those retards on Twitter screeching into the void because I'm saying this over and over again, and everyone's, well, yeah, you're probably taking it a bit too far, Richard, actually. Let's see where we are in 10 years, right? I hear a lot of people going, oh, well, you lowered the barriers and let the bloody radical Muslims in, you let the jihadists in. You think there's not going to be a spate of social justice crimes? I mean, we've already had a few. Again, no one talks about them. Already had a few people try to right a few societal wrongs with a gun. You don't think that's coming if we allow this type of mindset to foster? It's crazy as well because you know what those academics sound like? You ever heard of the 5%ers, the 5% nation? You ever heard about this?
No, I think so.
Mm. I'd heard about it. I learnt more about it, actually. Me and Thorin, we were out when we were working an event here in the States. And it was late. We'd had a few drinks. And, you know, I don't want to reveal any trade secrets, but, you know, Thorin might like a bit of green. I don't think that's going to shock anybody. I might, you know, might do that. It's just a herb. It's all good. No harm, no foul. And this big black dude with dreads was he wanted I don't know, was it a beer or something? You know, so we did what I believe is called barter and trade. And he sat down and he started telling us he was a 5%. And I was like, oh, I've heard of that. Isn't it an offshoot of the Nation of Islam or something? And he said, you know, he had a very thick accent, a patois that I will not emulate, but he sounded Caribbean American. And he started telling us while passing around this unbelievably strong blunt, which put me and Thorin sunk into a chair at this point now, unable to escape if we wanted to. We might even have been soaked in formaldehyde, who fucking knows. And he started explaining to us what he believed, and what the 5%ers believe is that white people are inferior and are the devil. It's a reasonable. It's a keep in mind, me and Thorin are just there. Yeah, so the white people are the devil, innit? Fucking hell, Duncan. Help! I can't move. Help! So anyway, you know, he was nice enough about it. He didn't seem to mind talking about the devil, but he told us some mad history about how, like, we were the creations of you know, some mad professor. It was fucking crazy, and that we were like the devils on earth, and that basically there's going to be a revelation, but it won't be like what the Christians say. It'll be a revelation where all white people are destroyed, and the black people that remain will inherit the earth and rule what once was theirs. Yeah, that's what they believe. Now, I opened the Wikipedia page here, and tell me if this sounds familiar. Michael Muhammad Knight wrote an essay for Vice. Michael Muhammad Knight was one of the founders of what went on to become the 5%ers, and one of the kind of more vocal proponents of it. And he said, the first lesson I learned from the 5% was simple: fuck white people. So hang on. Yeah, hang on. So no, I got it wrong. He's not a founder, but he is one of their like senior public members. He's got a PhD in Islamic studies. He's a novelist and stuff now. Right. But yeah, he's a proud member of the 5%ers. Didn't found it. That's someone else. There's a lot of Mohammeds in this because they are like a subsection, like kind of an offshoot, if you like, of the Nation of Islam. But anyway, he said the first lesson I learned from the 5% was simple: fuck white people. Seriously, white people are devils. Whiteness is weak and wicked and inferior, basically just an errant child who needs to be corrected. And then he went on when challenged about that and saying, you know, isn't that a bit racist? He said he was misquoted, and he said there are Wigger 5%ers, a phenomenon that I had discussed with the writer of the Vice article. So it looks like you can be in the 5%ers and be white. But basically, it says here that they believe black men are physically and intellectually superior, are the natural descendants of God. Black men are therefore gods, the lords of the earth, the rightful rulers of the world and its people. The men are referred to as gods. The women in the group are referred to as earths. And it is the job of the earths to fulfill the needs and assist the gods, the men, Imagine that, a religious structure that has women in inferior roles. Who's seen that before? And a system so they can attain its rule. 5%ers cannot marry anyone of the white race because it dilutes the purity of their blood.
Reasonable.
But the anti-white view is mainly reserved for white men. Like the Nation of Islam, the 5% ideology promulgates the theory that the white race was created by a black scientist. This is the mad professor, a black scientist named Jacob, who lived 6,000 years ago and was responsible for creating the white race to be a race of devils. He did this through a form of selective breeding, which is referred to as grafting, while living on the island of Patmos. So there you go. According to the 5%ers, white people were bred by a mad scientist on an island 6,000 years ago to be an army of devils, and he lost control of us, and we just went out and breeded unfettered, unchecked, and that's why we're the way we are. Now, what's worrying is, obviously, you'll laugh. You'll laugh about, the 5%ers, and indeed, I look back at that conversation I had with that guy who told me all of that to my face while I was unbelievably high. But it was actually a really nice dude, fuck it. I mean, he didn't treat me like I was descended from Jacob's devil breed. But the worrying thing is that nonsense, the utter nonsense that the 5% spout, is starting to sound increasingly like US academia, isn't it? I mean, am I wrong? Did I not just read you? Yeah, did I read you a bunch of quotes by professors saying whiteness is evil, whiteness is violence? All they've got to do is just say that white people are the devil, and it's the exact same. Why is that happening?
We're one science experiment away from the 5%, isn't it?
Now, just before we go to break, I'll show you this. This will upset you all. This upset me. Let me just find this. Because obviously there's been a lot of talk again about Black Lives Matter and whether or not it is indeed an inherently racist movement. And again, look, I think there's a lot of well-meaningful people, like we talked about right at the start of the show, the well-meaning idiots that have adopted the hashtag. And I do think it's tragic when, black people or anybody, an unarmed citizen is killed by police in error. I have said it before. I'll say it again. I definitely think there's a problem with police in the US. I think body cameras should be mandatory, and you should be taking away the toys of police officers that can't use them. And I mean en masse. And we should certainly be prosecuting police officers that break the law or behave in an improper or negligent fashion. I don't like hearing about 12-year-olds being shot because they had a super soaker in their hand. I don't give a fuck about your color at that point. Race doesn't enter that. That's just wrong. White kid, black kid, doesn't matter. I don't think, unfortunately, increasingly as it's moved forward, the Black Lives Matter movement shows that it's not about harmony. It's not about attaining racial harmony. It's actually very divisive. It's about rejecting white people. It's about, fucking that idea of reclamation. The idea that because we feel oppressed and marginalized, we must push back against the perceived marginalized group. The numbers don't bear out, by the way. The actual hard statistics don't bear out that black people are being killed in overwhelming number by white police officers. There's no way to spin the number to make it appear that that's what's happening. It's just that these cases go into the news cycle and they're awful. Like, nobody's saying otherwise. Where there has been an injustice, prosecute those police officers to the fullest extent of the law, because fucking just human life matters, doesn't it? And if it's taken away in a cruel, needless fashion, whoever did that under whatever pretext needs to receive some form of punishment or retribution for society to stay cohesive. I agree with that. But then you start seeing these other things. The Black Lives Matter Youth Project New York City announced they were going to have a party to celebrate all of their many achievements, but white people were excluded. And we talked about this on the podcast before, these idea of exclusively black spaces when we're living in a time when we're being told we can't have exclusive spaces because exclusive and exclusionary are real fucking close. So I thought, well, look, again, I'm still open-minded on this topic. There might be a good reason for this. I suppose if you are Black Lives Matter, maybe there isn't. And you want to talk about black issues, maybe there's not really a lot of room for white people there. And maybe it's done in a well-meaningful way. Maybe there's no vitriol. Well, on Tucker Carlson show last night, they got a Black Lives Matter supporter and spokesperson called Lisa Durden to come on the show and talk about this Memorial Day party and how they banned white people from attending it, even if they supported the cause. And I tell you, it just doesn't make you sympathize. It doesn't scream, hey, sympathize with this movement. Just check this out. It's about 6 minutes. I will, if you can go to full 6 minutes without having to just take your headset off for a bit and just have a break, fuck it, I'll buy you a beer. So if you do not identify, play this.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Space. So if you do not identify as black and want to come because you love black people, please respect the space and do not come. Lisa Durden is a political commentator and Black Lives Matter supporter. She joins us tonight. Lisa, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Good to see you again. You're doing well.
Thank you. I was confused by this because I thought the whole point of Black Lives Matter, one of the points would be to speak out against singling people out on the basis of their race and punishing them for that. Because you can't control what your race is, and yet they seem to be doing that. Explain that to me.
What I say to that is boo-hoo-hoo. You white people are angry because you couldn't use your white privilege card to get invited to the Black Lives Matters All-Black Memorial Day celebration. Wow. Let me contextualize that for you. Memorial Day was created by...
I don't want you to... Wait, slow down. First of all, I don't want you to contextualize.
Oh, I need to contextualize it because Memorial Day was created by black former slaves in 1865 to honor those individuals who were Union soldiers who fought and died for our freedom. So Black Lives Matter, in that same vein, decided to get together with black folks.
I'm not going to let you filibuster past my question.
To make sure that black folks were celebrated for being murdered by racist terrorists.
I don't want to shut this down, but I will. Okay.
Shut it down.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. I just have a really simple question for you. If you don't like people excluding others on the basis of their race, and as a society we agree that that's bad. I agree it's bad, you agree it's bad. Then why are you doing it? And why are you defending it now?
White folks crack me up all of a sudden when we want to have one day for black folks to focus on ourselves. But you've been having white days forever. You don't say the words anymore because you know it's politically incorrect. But you've had an all-white Oscars, all these movies with
all-white Oscars.
Well, if you don't like it, why are you perpetuating it?
All-white TV shows with white casts over and over and over again. The Bachelorette, it took 11 seasons of a black bachelorette. Are you serious?
It's hard to believe. I hope you're not speaking for anyone else. I hope there aren't a lot of people in this country who agree with you.
My name is Lisa Durden. I'm speaking for Lisa Durden.
I just hope there aren't people watching who agree with you because what you're saying is so hostile and separatist and crazy. It's such a basic violation of what I thought we all agreed on, which is you don't attack people for things they can't control, namely their race.
It's not an attack. I'm stating the facts. People get weddings where they exclude children. It doesn't mean they don't like children. They don't know if your kids are going to be monsters and those kids are going to be well behaved. So in the same vein, Black Lives Matter decided to have one day where they didn't want white folks who were going to be off the rails. They don't know if you're going to be the ones behaved and for them or the ones who are there against them. So they picked one day to do the celebration.
Let me just ask you a quick question.
Go right ahead.
Do you think it's racist to exclude people on the basis of their skin color?
I think it's racist when you've been excluding people for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
Stop with your silly lectures. I'm asking you a very simple question.
We're forced to come together collectively to celebrate ourselves because you guys won't. You are the larger society. Let's be real here.
You guys, I'm talking about what I thought we all believed. Let me ask you this. Do you think it would be fair if white people did come to a Black Lives Matter celebration?
They do all the time. When you look look at Black Lives Matter,
do you use the same water fountain that they do?
And you see Black Lives Matter coming together collectively for different issues. You see people of all races. So we do accept them. This particular day, they said, stay your asses out. We want to celebrate today. We don't want anybody going against us today.
And you can't celebrate if someone who doesn't look like you is around?
Yes, you can, but you can
You're
also
demented,
say, I don't want to do it. It's a personal
You're
choice.
sick, and what you're saying is disgusting. And if you were a Nazi, I would say the same thing to you.
Luckily, I'm not a
because
Nazi.
What you're saying is indistinguishable from what they are saying, which is, I don't care your opinions, I don't care your views, your life experience, your intentions. All I care about is the way you look, something that you can't control. And on that basis alone, I'm judging you, and I'm hostile to you. That's the case you're making, and it's divisive and wrong. And it's amazing that you didn't have to say that out loud, but I can't believe you're making the case you're making.
Unfortunately, when you have a racist society like America, you force individuals to come together collectively to make sure that they have a voice. And that's unfortunate that the racism has caused people to come together collectively.
Let me ask you a question. Is there a single white person in America you would have let into this? Into the celebration.
I'm not Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a movement.
You're just an apologist for this.
However, I can respect the decision. It doesn't mean it's a decision I would have made. Maybe I would have. Just like a wedding where I might say your kids can't bring their badasses in my wedding.
Children are not an ethnic group. Every person in the world, it does matter.
Kids. You're saying don't bring your badass kids.
Would it be okay? Yeah, but you see, okay, but there are white adults and Asian adults and Hispanic adults, and presumably they're basically the same as black adults, but you don't agree with that.
We have gay pride parades. We have Puerto Rican Day parades. We have all
Puerto
kinds
Ricans
of days that honor individuals. We have Mother's Day. We have Father's Day.
Fathers are allowed to participate
just take
in
your
that.
mama out,
I'm
not
not
your
sure you're
daddy
even
out.
capable of having this conversation, so I'm going to end it now. Let me ask you one last question, and be totally honest with this. Do the people in your world, your parents, your siblings, your kids, your friends, do they agree with you on this?
My family respects my right to free speech.
Don't give me that dumb answer. I mean, do they agree with what you just said, though? Do you know a lot of people who agree with what you just said? Whatever. No one's contesting it.
I'll see you next time on your show. You'll be invited
again. Do you know a lot of people who agree with you?
Tucker, I'm going to see you again in less than a month. Ratings are going up.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm not sure. Thanks for coming on tonight, Lisa. The U.S. Senators.
I mean, what do you even say about that? What does any of that mean? What were those weird threats? Like, he says what you're saying is racist, and she goes, at least I'm not a Nazi. What does that mean? Is he a Nazi? Are we all Nazis? And and I'll be seeing you again in a month. Kind of takes on this almost
some security for a month, please, outside of my locker room. I'm not sure what she's gonna do.
Her
last name's Dude, and she could go full Fight Club on me.
Yeah, like fuck, dude. Like, listen. You know, I don't know if she's been subject to things that have happened in her life that have made her think the things she does. I'm not saying that would be an excuse. It would be an explanation. But again, that fucking bilious hostility, like, you know, she starts off, she goes, oh, hey, Tucker. You think, okay, cool. This is somebody that you might be able to engage with. And then it just descends immediately into slavery. And you guys have White Day. Like, that's definitely
we don't have White
Day. Like, I don't know if somebody told you that in jest and it's just like, I don't get why we're promoting racial segregation. I don't want racial segregation. I don't want segregated societies. I don't want segregated businesses. I don't want to live my life not being exposed to people of different backgrounds, different cultures. You know, the phrase has kind of lost a little bit of its shine. People have kind of co-opted it to mean something else. But, you know, cultural enrichment. It is a real thing. Like, I don't want us to all be separate. But I just increasingly think that's the argument coming out. You know, what are we going to do? Start giving everyone their own reservations so we don't have to mingle? It's frightening to me, dude. It really is. And you know, again, This is being taught in your universities. This is what your students come out of university believing. They believe that there's an enemy all around them, an enemy that only they can defeat. And I think we're headed to some dark places unless we start nipping this thought process in the bud, because there isn't a racist under your bed. There's not a Nazi in your closet. The American people that I've encountered, as I said, some of the warmest, most generous, down-to-earth, accepting people. Hell, they got a reason to not like a British person, right? There was all of that Tea Party and shit. Never had a problem. But, I live around the corner. I live in a pretty gentrified area, it must be said, but I live around the corner from what is still one of the few remaining hoods in Atlanta. I go there to get liquor, nobody's ever fucking been hostile. Never had any problems. Never been, threatened. I don't know. I just don't like the idea of us all having to be separate. And, because we can't find any common ground anymore. I think that's a huge step backwards. I don't think that is what the civil rights movement was about. And I think if we go there, I think all the people that sacrifice so much to get us to a point where white people, black people, immigrants, you name it, everybody's treated equally, respectfully, and has the same opportunities, which it might not be perfect. We might not be there 100%, but I think compared to the environment they existed in, I think it's day and night. I think it's a real fucking shame if we start tearing that down and erecting fences again. Anyway, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk Lacey Green, and we're going to do Media Watch. Media. You're in the media. So we will see you in about 3 minutes. All right, welcome back. I take sacks to the face whenever I can. That's what it says. So just putting that out there. So let's do just a wrap up of some of the media stuff before we get into this Lacey Green bullshit. I wasn't going to touch the Lacey Green stuff, but it's hit a new level of insanity that kind of makes it alarmingly relevant, I suppose. But there was some pretty ridiculous stories. When I talk about the leftist blogosphere, which is basically what reporting has become. I mean, fuck me, The Independent is pure cancer now. I mean, it's like they're not even trying to hide it. They're content to go from being one of the, 10 years ago, they were one of the great newspapers in Britain. Now they are putting out stories like this. I will link you to the first one, Sam. This is pretty wild. There's things you have to say like in society so people don't do crazy things.
Yeah.
Like I've often wondered about that. When you see a sign that says like, don't throw your money in the pond, or don't put fingers in an electrical socket. I can't
like creams that are food flavored. I obviously like
that
got lemon in. Do not drink.
Yeah, like exactly. Yeah, on lemon sif, like don't put on your pancakes or whatever. Like, I almost kind of say, can we not put those warnings there and let's just get back to Darwinism? Yeah, let's just do it, right? But there was a story. It blows my mind. Again, it was on The Independent, but it was picked up by the blogosphere because my feminism or whatever. This was the request that you shouldn't put wasps in your vagina to tighten the muscles, said a gynecologist.
Wasp nest.
Yeah, do not put wasps' nests in your vagina. And basically, what I'll read about it. It's apparently it's a natural. Yeah. Funny you should mention that. An all-natural treatment for women looking to rejuvenate and tighten their vagina is giving doctors serious cause for concern. Ground-up wasps' nests. That's right. Some women are actually using oak galls, which are tree deformities caused by wasps' nests, as an at-home remedy for vaginal rejuvenation. Formed when a wasp lays eggs in a tree's leaf buds so that the larvae can develop inside. Oak galls are being sold by online retailers, including Etsy, who claim that grounding them into a paste can help tighten the vagina and get rid of bad smells.
I wonder if that's true, though. Even if it does do all the bad shit, if that's true, that's pretty cool.
Are you mentally ill?
No, I'm not saying you should do it, but I'm just saying it's interesting, or that's a thing.
I don't think it is a thing.
How did they fall for it then? Was there just no proof?
No, it's just like all sorts. It's like homeopathy, isn't it?
All right, yeah.
Mate, we exist in a society where homeopathic medicine has to be offered as a health alternative on the NHS. you know, it's water. That's all it is. That's what homeopathy is.
Yeah, that is so mental.
I mean, like you know how homeopathy works, right?
Yeah, isn't it? They just dilute something over and over again. Isn't it?
Right.
The more diluted it is, the stronger it actually is.
Yeah. But let's go back. Let's go back to the diagnostic process.
Right.
So let's say your symptoms were you had diarrhea. Right. You not uncommon.
Yeah.
You've got your weekly case of diarrhea, stomach cramps, and a fever, and a rash. Okay, let's say those 4 things. So what I would then do is I would look through a herbalist's book, right? And I would find an element or a herb or a plant or a substance that causes those symptoms.
Yeah,
and
that's what it's causing.
Yeah, and then I would take that and I would distill an essence from it, and then I would take a molecule of that and drop it into a vial of water. So much so that it's literally what they call trace amounts. Trace amounts, you know, they can barely be measured, right? So that's what they do. And they put it into water, and then you drink the water, and that is supposed to have an effect that is supposed to cure whatever ails you. And what they claim is, right, let's say, oh, bloody hell, doc, that bottle of water didn't cure me for some reason. Right, well, time to give you the good stuff, and you're like, all right, we're cracking out the chemotherapy, are we? No. We're going to give you a more dilute solution of the same thing we just gave you. So in other words, more water.
Yeah, we're going to give you that and a pint more water.
And that's how it works. And this is absolutely true. If you think I'm mental, do feel free to Google this yourself. Or even better, there's a wonderful video by one of the true skeptics out there called James Randi. That's R-I-N-D-I. Still trucking in his 90s. Hilarious guy. Grew up watching him. You should check out his video on homeopathy. He does a presentation on it. It might even be a TED Talk. But he does a presentation on homeopathy where he eats what should be a lethal dose of homeopathic sleeping tablets. And, of course, he does it on stage while he's talking to people. And nothing happens because none of it works.
Because it was like an apple or something.
Yeah. So does that. So don't put wasps in your minge. Don't do that. Funny enough, because it can mash you all up inside there. It can get rid of healthy bacteria, leading to infection and increase your risks of getting HIV. So don't do it because it's just, not worth. Yeah, definitely not worth.
You must be in a pretty dire state if you're willing to put orc shit in you, though. Fucking hell. It's definitely not worth it, is it?
What?
Never mind.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth it, mate. I mean that's
they look like
pretty much
as well. They got spikes and shit. Fuck that.
Let me just see if I can find this other thing, because this I just thought, well, what is the point? This, here you go. So this is a mother decided, again, we'll go with the Independent's report of this, mother decided to publish photographs of her 5-year-old son wearing dresses just to encourage parents to be more accepting of their children, right? And basically her 5-year-old son gets to choose what he wants to wear every day, which 99% of the time is a dress, but not just any old dress, you see, Sam. Again, I've got no issue with it if you want to go to school, but she lets him go out just wearing a tutu and that in public. And, I can't help but feel that maybe your kid shouldn't decide how they should dress. Maybe you should exercise a little bit of parental control. What if he wanted to wear an SS uniform?
Imagine how much I would backfire on this one.
Do you know
liberal mum. What do you want to wear today? The SS uniform, please.
Yeah, I just like the black and the skulls. No, you can't wear that.
I can always wear what I want to, right?
Yeah. You've set the tone, mother. You've said I can wear this fucking tutu to Granddad's funeral, so God rest his fucking soul. Don't get me wrong, it's not a big deal or anything, but it's like it was a bit mad that this is in the news. I guess that's what I'm driving at. Like, if your kid wants to wear a dress, I don't give a fuck. Kids like to play dress up. I'm sure I fucking clip-clopped around in my mother's high heels when I was a kid. Like, it's not a big deal. Who gives a fuck? But the point is, I don't know why this is in a newspaper. I don't know why this is being reported on.
Why though? It's because obviously the mother's pushed for it to be in some sort of media, right? Because I doubt it's the kid's doing his own publicity, is he? So it's going to be the mother.
Yeah, you never know. The kid might have his own publicist.
Yeah, maybe.
But again, I don't want to make any stereotypes. There's a photo of him with his mother, and she does look like Anita Sarkeesian's attitude who made pies. Yeah. So just putting that out there. What a coincidence that somebody that has a certain set of beliefs produces a child that echoes those beliefs. I imagine my surprise. But again, it's fine. I don't have an issue with it. I just don't understand why this is being reported on. It was reported in the Independent. It was reported in the Daily Mail. It was reported in the Sun. It's just mental, isn't it? That this is making the news cycle. In fact, it reminds me of a case in the UK last year where a 3-year-old boy was out in public wearing a tutu. And some guy, again, this is the other extreme, just to show you, I know there's morons on both sides of the equation. A guy saw a boy in a tutu walking along in a park with his mother, and the guy reported the mother for child abuse, which, probably a bit over the top there, really. Unreasonable. But when that story made the papers, the mother said, my 3.5-year-old son likes to wear sparkly tutus. He says they make him feel beautiful and brave. He doesn't say that, does he? Because he's 3. You've had a lie. That's what you think it does. And again, children, it's great. Children can choose, when children have choices and you indulge their choices and you let them express themselves and slowly find out who they are over a process, that's completely fine. Just say, maybe it isn't always the best decision to let that go unchecked. Right, what else have we got? Let's see, because I did pick out a few of the mental stories. Oh, there's just a horrible story. Oh, before we get to the horrible story, let's just have a look at this woman from Nottingham. Now, Sam, again, do you know? I've talked a lot about mental illnesses, right? Yeah. And I say that there's all these developing and ongoing forms of mental illness that we haven't diagnosed. It's quite interesting, isn't it? That there's one that I've noticed. It's like when people want to stop a thing they go and do something that will have no measurable effect on the thing. But as long as other people see them doing it and applauding their efforts, they'll continue to do it, right? So it's like, I don't know, let's say in the village of Port Talbot, our well ran dry, and every day, because you've got it in your mind, that if you woke up at 3 a.m. and dropped a baked bean down the well shaft, it would eventually bring the water back. It won't. It won't, Sam. So don't do that. But
you don't know nothing, but...
Right, but if at 3 a.m. Every morning you did it religiously, and all the villagers were out there getting up at 3 a.m. with you in a show of solidarity, chanting "Sam, bean, 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 bean," and you were doing it every morning, you'd feel great about yourself, and it would encourage you to do it more. Newsflash: if you're dropping baked beans down a well, you're mentally ill, aren't you? I mean, you're fucked in the feed. Yeah, like, yeah, what is going in isn't being interpreted correctly. Your feed is fucked.
Kuru.
You
probably do have kuru if you put in beans down a well, to be fair.
You have been eating the old brains. So, this woman is basically doing that. She's got a baked bean down the well, mate, and it's in Nottingham. Right, and what she did, just watch. I'll show you the vid. We're going to play the vid, but basically, just to give you the gist, just to prepare you. Apparently, there was a biker gang going down her street, and it's a residential area, but they're bikers, right? So they like to, have a rev and get a bit faster than that. So, despite the fact that she is clearly not a law enforcement agent in any way, shape, or form, and is just a fat, demented woman. She goes out every day with a hairdryer and points the hairdryer at them, and she says this slows them down, even though on the video footage you can see them going like no one gives a fuck. Just watch this video, mate, and just tell me what. Again, questions to remember: why is this news? Why do I know about this? Mentally ill woman points hairdryer at traffic. Effectively, is the story. Yeah, big bong coming up.
Our news.
ISIS just attacked Iran in a bong. Mentally ill woman points hairdryer at motorbike.
Bong.
You need a fucking bong to get through this shit. You can't believe this is real. Anyway, just watch this video, mate. Drop me a 3, 2, 1 when you're ready to go.
3, 2, 1, go. She's living in the junkyard. When you've got
cars and bikes going meow, 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 all up and down the road, it had to stop.
I'm already tapping the fuck out.
And children now are saved.
What am I supposed to do with that? Oh yeah, the kids are real safe.
Quite simply, by picking up one of those and going like that, I have never seen so many people's brake lights
I don't even know if we're the same species. Is that even a new one at that point?
That's tough. I live here. My friends live here. My friends' children live here. And if we can't be safe in our own streets, how the hell are we going to be safe in the world?
Right. So what's mental about that? I mean, there's a lot that's mental about that, isn't there?
How long have you got?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, right, okay, it says in the report, do you know what's mad, right? Can I just say this? I wasn't going to say this, because I think it's a bit pathetic, isn't it? Like, whenever there's a woman in a funny story and you go, oh, look how she looks, you know, it's a bit childish. But can I just say...
But...
Can I just say...
Hey, now you're an all-star.
Yeah, hey, now you're an all-star. You've got a hairdryer. No, here it is, right? I've got to find a bigger picture of it, though. But there's a particular character in Fallout. This isn't one of them, but you'll get the gist from this image because it's a nice size and it's in a good resolution. But I don't like the later Fallout games. Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas are great. But I just want you to do a comparison because she has got a touch of the super mutants going on, hasn't she? Just straight up, mate. Grill and all that. Let's have a look, though.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. No, not a ghoul. Not a ghoul. A super mutant, guys. Like, is there a way you can get her with her teeth?
Yeah,
Sam? Yeah, and just do a side by side because I just want to see how good it looks on my screen. I'm waiting because there's a slight delay, so you'll have to. Oh, mate, that's spot on. That is, you did a great job there, mate. With the pause. Oh no, you fucked it.
I got a good one.
Oh no, that is pretty decent.
Pause.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, that is. She's out of fucking control, isn't she? She is having a super mutant. So anyway, I don't usually like to talk about that sort of stuff. This is juvenile, but she does look like a fucking super mutant. There's just
Master super mutant, though.
Yeah. It's fair play. She's got rank. But here's what's mental, Sam. Here's what's mental, right? So let's just think about this. Woman in Nottingham points hairdryer at traffic, all right? She contacted the BBC. That's what it says. That's the opening line on the video.
Let's just be clear, we didn't do this.
Yeah, this lady isn't offering free blow dries.
Sorry.
Jean Brooks, uses her hairdryer as a pretend speed gun, right? And it says she contacted the BBC after it published this CCTV footage. So basically, what happened was the BBC published some CCTV footage about some bikers driving recklessly, and this woman rang up the BBC and said, "Well, you know what I do? I point bloody hairdryers.
I'm mentally ill in the street.
Yeah, I point hairdryers at them and behave in a mentally ill fashion." And the BBC went, "What, really? We'll send a team down right away."
Just as a question, you look like a super mutant by any chance? Well, actually, get them down there now.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've only got the budget for Fallout-related stories at the moment. The only way we could conceivably cover this story would be if you were to look like a character from one of the games. Ah, bloody fuming. Yeah, but anyway, so that's madness number one. That the BBC sent down a news team to interview her and make a video of her pointing a hairdryer. Like, is this where the license fee goes, guys? Really? Is this it? Because I got mentally ill people on my street.
Yeah.
I don't need you to tell me that.
You got World Star Hip Hop for this kind of stuff.
So, exactly, mate. World Star all the way. Then, on top of that, right, you do know, right, like, okay, let's say people are driving past, and the vast majority are going to go, there's that super mutant with the hairdryer again. But
I ain't got the level required to 1v1 now. I'm going to have to go around.
It's, but, it's distracting, isn't it? It's distracting. It's distracting. First of all, they could think it's a gun, right? It is Nottingham, a.k.a. Shottingham, right? People could think it's a firearm. Second of all, you're driving along, you see her come out and open and pointing the fucking hairdryer at and you just get locked. You get locked on a train of thought going, fucking hell, Bethesda. They fucked up. Why are the super mutants even there? They almost died out at the end of Fallout 2 when we were living in harmony. Why have they just made orcs in the game? It's fucking Bethesda. And you spin out and you crash into a fucking house and you kill everyone in the house. And it's all happened because of her.
Because of the super mutant.
Because of the super mutant. Not acceptable, is it? So
stop nuclear power now. Stop the super mutants from breeding.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's fucking crazy that no one has objected to this for all these reasons. It's madness. So that's what's going. Media. The media's mental, isn't it? It's out of control. It's just fucking lost its mind. Right. So let's. And there was one other thing, just briefly. He's still laughing.
The super mutant. oh, fucking hell.
It's mad. It's mad, though, but she looks like one, though. It's mad, isn't it? Like, seriously. It made me realise that, fucking hell, maybe they're onto something.
So unreal that the BBC went and filmed that, though.
Oh, isn't it? Like,
Can you come down and film it? What do you do? Well, I just point my hair dryer at things in the road. Yeah, we'll come down. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll whip it round. No, fuck it. I got a day spare. Why not? This sounds fun.
But the thing is, because obviously I work in a TV company, I know the efforts that go into these things.
Alright, and the cameraman didn't even get paid. They just did that for a laugh.
Mate, you don't just send people down. You've got to coordinate everything.
Yeah,
travel,
accommodation,
sound. Then you have to come back, mix it. They'll have been there all day probably listening to her fucking ravings. And sometimes I've got I point the toaster at them. And, right?
I get a laser pen and I shine it in their eyes.
They got to fucking edit all of that down into a 1 minute video. The process. It's so mad. It's sad, isn't it? Oh, fuck's sake. Stay a minute, man. Wait, fucking hell. Hold on.
Oh my fucking god. Every time I was just to see the super mutant, it still make me laugh. Oh, fuck me. Oh.
Right, okay, super mutants in the media.
I can't even see properly anymore.
Yeah, I know, it's tough, isn't it? Right, so this is like less cause for comedy. So I don't know if you saw this. It's a bit weird, right? Because Fox News, nothing to do with Fallout, but Fox News in the middle of just a live broadcast they were doing the other day, did it earlier on in the day. That had Nigel Farage on, a few other people, basically talking about what was happening in London. And, you know, we've not really talked about it on the show. We haven't really talked about, radical Islam attacks in Europe for a while. We're probably going to get to the point where we're going to have to do a show on it and kind of just have a discussion. I don't know what the idea is. Maybe we'll bring a imam onto the show or something. And kind of to get that balance, right? So it doesn't look just like two Welsh people just ranting and raving. But anyway, obviously, some people have some ideas, some people have some other ideas, and it creates this debate and discussion every time it happens. The only thing I'm certain of is that the current way of handling things isn't handling it at all, is it? Because they keep happening and it keeps getting worse. So Fox News had Nigel Farage on, and then partway through the broadcast afterwards, they came out, right, and they said, this is the Fox News host, said, actually, we don't support what Farage said about internment camps, right? So this was reported in the Huffington Post. Okay, reported in the Huffington Post, made a big deal about it. And if you just scroll down, Sam, and play the clip there, you can see this is guests on Fox and Friends. And this is their reaction to it. So if you just want to play it, we can do the 3, 2, 1. There's no super mutants in this one to be called.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Earlier on the show, we had a couple of guests mention the word internment, the idea of internment camps as a possible solution to this. I think I made it well known my feeling on that, which I find reprehensible. But on behalf of the network, I think all of us here find that idea reprehensible here at Fox News Channel. Just to be clear, no suggestions of that. Absolutely. So,
right, that's important to be said. All right. Well, our coverage, of course, of the London terror attacks.
Wait, what? Who said there should be internment camps?
Well, this is the thing. So the claim that was being made and what's been repeated publicly is Nigel Farage, you know, the interesting rubber-faced goon that he is, had called for internment camps on the show, and I was like, really? Fucking hell, it's a bit weird because. First of all, I'll tell you this. The idea of internment camps will never fly in the US. Purely and simply because they had it during the American-Japanese conflict, and it is a shameful page in American history. You will not find many people who want to repeat that grave error of judgment. It just simply won't. You simply won't happen. You know, there might be a few whack jobs who are like, yep, internment camps. Certainly, nobody would support a government calling for it. I wouldn't support it. I don't support the idea. The most sensible people get a little bit weirded out by the idea of taking human beings and putting them in camps.
Anyone, as a general rule.
It's not cool. Okay, but I went back and I watched what Nigel Farage had said, and what Farage had actually said, the quote that he said on the show was, "We want genuine action, and if there is no action, then the calls for internment will grow. We have over 3,000 people on a sort of known terrorist list, and we're watching, monitoring their activities, but there are a further 20,000 people who are persons of interest, namely they're linked in some way to extremist organizations." This is the report that came out in the UK. 23,000 known, these are the known jihadists in Britain. Good luck putting the fucking cork back in this bottle. 23,000 known jihadists in Britain. And unless, and this is how Farage ended his quote, "unless we see the government getting tough, you will see public calls for those 3,000 people to be arrested." Now, Farage, in that quote, again, I'll repeat it, "We want genuine action, and if there is not action, then the calls for internment will grow." That's not an endorsement of internment camps. That's not him saying I support internment camps. This is a fucking smear. This is a slander, and it's been repeated. I've seen people saying Nigel Farage is like an Adolf Hitler type figure because he's calling for internment camps. This is the Huffington Post report. You can see it there. Fox News host disavows internment camps after panelists suggest rounding up Muslims. They didn't suggest putting people in camps. They said there's a group of people that will call for it if these attacks keep happening. Farage called for arrests to be made. He called for 3,000 known jihadists to be arrested. Just the 3,000 that we know have engaged in either fighting foreign wars abroad or engaged in terrorist type behaviour here in the or there in the UK.
What is the argument against that then? Do you know? Like, what is the argument in not immediately arresting those people?
Well, the point is, I suppose, I mean, the argument, as it's been laid out to me, is that you can't arrest them, like, because we didn't monitor them when they went over and fought in these like war zones. I mean, this is the key thing here, that we've literally had people who went and fought against British troops. I mean, at least 400 known to intelligence services that have fought in war zones against British troops have just been allowed to come back to Britain on British passports after doing that, and they weren't arrested immediately or picked up. And the argument is that intelligence services are overstretched. We're doing our best to monitor them. We can only arrest people if they break the laws here. We have no idea what they did while they were abroad in those foreign war zones. It's crazy. And I understand the squeamishness, as somebody who was very vehemently against what happened in Guantanamo Bay and the other prison. What was that one? Fuck, I always forget the name of it. Abu Ghraib. I absolutely appalled at what went on there. People who hadn't been involved in any form of jihadist or extremist behavior were arrested on suspicion of being involved and then brutalized, force-fed the Quran, made to crawl around naked on all, their hands and knees. I mean, what happened in the Abu Ghraib scandal, again, under Bush, what happened in the Abu Ghraib scandal was one of the best recruitment videos for extremists in that region you're ever going to get. They don't need to make a fucking, no, fuck, I don't know why I'm doing We Are the Champions.
Classic ISIS tune.
The classic ISIS tune, sorry.
Prodigy.
Smack my kafir up. But, the best recruitment videos were Western atrocities, were innocent people being held in Guantanamo Bay for years without even being allowed to see lawyers. This is how the jihadis go out and recruit people. They point to Western atrocities. And unfortunately, we're too far down this chain of events now to basically take that path of, we're sorry, guys. It's too late now. It's too late. Again, the horse has bolted. And we need a very different way of doing it. But Farage absolutely did not call for internment camps. I mean, that's got to be said. Whatever you think about Farage and his politics, fine. Debate his politics. But don't smear him for something he never called for. He said calls for internment will grow. They probably will. That doesn't mean he endorses it. It doesn't mean he's calling for it. I was very shocked, actually, at what happened as a result of that. Although maybe I shouldn't be, because we live in an era where people don't judge you on what you say. They judge you on what they think. This is in the media. They judge you on what they think you possibly meant. And again, I love how the left invent language for this. It comes back, to what we talked about earlier in the show, how research is racist. Well, they use this term, don't they? Dog whistling. Dog whistling. Oh, it's just a dog whistle. Only racists can hear it. What Farage is really saying is he wants internment camps. Well, no, he doesn't. I imagine he would be appalled if it was called for. I certainly don't think he would support it. I've never seen anything in his public position to suggest he would, but maybe I'm wrong. Regardless, on the evidence of that quote, you can't make that allegation. Very surprised at that. And even Fox News came out and disavowed themselves from something that was never said. Wasn't said on their show at all. Very bizarre. But I guess, we're starting to see this increasingly, aren't we? Pressure from the left gets everybody now to knee jerk and kind of appease them. But yeah, disavowing yourself from something that never got said. Very bizarre. Okay, so let's get into the Lacey Green shit, and then we can wrap up the show. So I wasn't going to talk about Lacey Green, Sam. I wasn't going to talk about it because it's not really important. It doesn't really bother me. But I'll give my position when it was one of those things that was on a topic of maybes to talk about on the podcast. Lacey Green, as you know, is a feminist YouTuber that does sex education. We made fun of her on the show before because some of her positions have been absolutely ridiculous. This is somebody who implies anyone who disagrees with her is alt-right, believes Gamergate harasses women, all these patently false beliefs. And quite crucially, going into the election, she was like, whatever happens in the election, guys, let's all just remember we're Americans and let's have healing. And then when Trump won, she tweeted the next day words to this effect, fuck you all, you racist pigs. Well, let's let the healing begin, shall we? So when I started seeing her posting videos about how she'd been, potentially red-pilled and that she was now going to take a more open-minded view of the world, I didn't buy it. I didn't forgive it. This is still somebody that bullied smaller YouTubers, that doesn't understand fair use and copyright laws, and used her status to lean on people that were saying unflattering things about her. You're not absolved of all of your sins just because you say, I'm going to stop acting like a zealot. It doesn't work like that. That's not how society works. So I was never really taken in by this. And then, of course, it came out that, the reason for this is that she's dating Chris Reagan. Chris Reagan, who is kind of like been a more vocal proponent for this open-mindedness to begin with, and has pushed back against social justice. Was in the process of writing Social Justice, the musical, with a bunch of parody songs, including the amazing Punch a Nazi. He's a very talented individual, very fun YouTuber to watch. And it's interesting, I don't want to say there's any stereotypes here, but isn't it interesting that the feminist, the angry feminist who saw racists and misogynists and chauvinists everywhere she looked, suddenly became more open-minded and happy in her life once she got with a good partner? It's almost as if there was a misery that drives these people, an abject loneliness and despair and self-loathing that causes them to screech into the void. And once they feel validated and get with somebody attractive and they feel they have a connection and they feel good about themselves, they drop it all. I could have made a much more brash joke there and gone, well, feminist gets some good dick, yeah. But I don't need to say that. Because what's hilarious is, since Lacey Green has come out herself and said that, me and Chris Ray Gunn are seeing each other. You know, it's just two YouTubers dating. Nothing to see here, folks. But it is going to mean that I'm going to maybe factor in some of his beliefs, my new partner's beliefs, into my ideology and be a bit more open-minded. She has now been dismissed as a betrayer, a great betrayer. And I don't need to say anything cruel or crass because feminists are now ganging up on Lacey Green because she has left them. She has betrayed them. And it is fucking scary. I mean, I'm going to try and, put a summary together of some of the stuff that's been going on. But it's a lot, and it's just been ticking over, and it is going nowhere. It's going to continue. But, Lacey Green. So she, first of all, I'll introduce you to somebody that's even been on my timeline and has been really mentally ill. This is Zinnia Jones. Now, Zinnia Jones describes herself as a trans activist writer who specializes in gender analysis. She's involved in a polyamorous relationship. Often find the people who are the most bitter about people who are happy in their relationships are people that are in either no relationship at all or these polyamorous relationships, which do seem to be kind of an admittance that one partner can't satisfy your needs. That person must feel great about themselves. You know, I generally feel somebody's not going to be happy in that relationship. Whatever. Definitely don't click on the not suitable for work link on her bio. Don't recommend that at all. That is for one of her partners who is, probably engaged in what you might call camming. Again, I make no moral judgments about that. People do whatever they feel comfortable doing. To make a living, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But definitely do not click on it, Sam.
Twitch will shut us down.
So it's really interesting. I mean, her Twitter feed is what you'd expect it to be. And, it's got all the usual stuff in there. But she has been tweeting about Lacey Green dating Chris Ray Gun for days. I mean, 4 days. Even to the point where she is doing a call for arms generally to all of the social justice warriors, which is this. This was her tweet here. She said, don't date the alt-right. Don't date Gamergate. Don't date white supremacist. No, not even if you like them. In their words, fuck your feelings. And of course, I mean, Chris Ray Gun isn't really any of those things. He's certainly not a white supremacist. I certainly doubt he identifies as alt-right. That term has kind of been, it's now toxic sewage, isn't it? Nobody wants it on them. Nobody wants the term alt-right on them because the liberal media have taken a term that has nothing to do with white supremacy. And basically between them and the fact Richard Spencer is a fucking moron and a cunt, and he decides to appropriate the term because, he is trying to hide the fact he's a white supremacist. He is a white supremacist. And they go, all right, well, anyone who identified as alt-right, because Richard Spencer said it, is a white supremacist. I'm like, no. We were using it before him. It was actually a term coined by a professor to describe new wave conservatism. Can the inventor of the term decide where it goes? Oh, no, of course not. Of course he couldn't. Because the media drive that narrative. So between Richard Spencer and the mainstream media, that term is fucked now. It's never going to be used. So, but I certainly feel comfortable saying on Chris's behalf, not his politics. So, and he may be Gamergate in the sense that he doesn't believe Gamergate was a movement that harasses women, which is still something that there's absolutely no evidence for whatsoever, that it was a hierarchical organization that was organized for the express purposes of harassing women. Show me that evidence and I will condemn the movement. Unfortunately, all evidence points to the contrary. And what's interesting is Zinnia Jones has been saying some fairly ridiculous things. I mean, this alone is ridiculous. Don't date them. Let's breed them out. I mean, it's okay, darling. I think we'll be all right. I think we'll still get ours. I don't necessarily agree with misdemeanor who says, you need a good shag love by the sounds of it. But, you know, maybe some people are thinking it. And there's a reply. But super long feeds of just people going back and forth, you know, the ludicrous blue-haired feminists all saying, yeah, let's breed them out. Other people going, what the fuck are you even talking about? What's that?
All right.
Yeah, are you okay? But she's not okay, Sam. She's literally been tweeting about this for ages and ages and ages. She condemned me, making fun of me being an esports host. I mean, again, just saying I'm a TV host. If I was to say TV host or gender analyzer, you know, it's not really hard to analyze it, by the way. It's pretty easy. You know, I'm not saying one might sound more impressive on a CV than the other, but I guess it depends what circles you swim in. I have no idea why you need to be reductive about my line of work. I wouldn't attack you on that basis. And I didn't attack her at all because I think it's quite clear to me she is seriously mentally disturbed. I mean, this is if two YouTubers dating is enough to drive you to this sort of breaking point, you have got real problems.
I've been scrolling for ages, mate, and I only just got to 4 hours on her tweets.
Yeah, no, again, it's the screeching into the void. There was also as well, let me see if I can find this, because she did say, what was the quote? She said something about Lacey Green, which was basically, we should drive her to tipping point. So, something like that. I don't know if you want to Google it while I carry on doing the bit, but just see if you can find it. But yeah, basically, Zinnia Jones said we should drive Lacey Green to tipping point or something, which I don't know what that implies, but it seemed to be a very clear call to harass Lacey Green because she is dating someone that they deem politically unsound. And I just think it's so interesting that these people are so far gone and that they can't see. Right, okay. Do you remember why you hate Gamergate, this fictitious movement that harasses women? Yeah, we don't like it because it harasses women. Okay, good. You are publicly advocating for the harassment of a woman. Yeah, but that she bad. She sex with MRA. Yeah, but I mean, does it matter what she does in her personal and private life? I mean, you're still advocating for a group of anonymous people on the internet to harass her. That's exactly what you condemned Gamergate for doing, even though Gamergate has demonstrably never done that. So do you not feel like, no, you're just twisting things. No, I'm definitely not. I'm putting two very clear comparisons side by side. I'm taking your values and I'm applying them universally to your actions and beliefs. And yet they're doing it. That's exactly what they're calling for. Now it's like, well, you know, this will blow over. It's just a few mentally ill people. This is days later. This is days after the cat being out the bag. You know, there's this blog here on Tumblr, of course, and it's basically like a collection of cheers, you did get the tweet. Yeah, I think there it is. I think there's a legitimate case to be made for us trying to push the Lacey situation to some kind of breaking point as soon as possible, just to minimize the length of time where this festers unaddressed and draws in ignorant people who will be deceived by the two of them. Make them come out in the open about what they're doing so they either back down or become so unrepentantly shitty it can't be dismissed. You know, you're talking about two grown adults dating, and you want to do what exactly? You want to harass them to the point where they come out and admit they're bad people for doing that? This is, you know, this is honestly rubber room shit. You need to be sectioned at this point. You know, I made the comparison last night on Twitter before I just started ignoring her. That you know, this is reminiscent of when mentally ill people write death threats and hate mail to people who play villains in soap operas, which is, you know, not a common occurrence, but it does happen. You know, and it's one of those things. You'll often hear people who play like a villain for 20 years in EastEnders talk about, you know, oh, there was always this point where we had to get security because some nutter said they were going to come down, you know, and kill Phil Mitchell because he, you know, beat Sharon up or something ridiculous, and people get so invested in the lives of celebrities. And let's not forget. I mean, when you're a YouTuber, there is an expectation that there's a persona there. You know, do I think that Lacey Green was necessarily all of the things that she represented? Probably not. I think that would be untenable. I don't think you could maintain that forever. Do I think she descended into hysteria and embarrassed herself on numerous occasions? Yes, absolutely. But clearly, as you get older and change your social circles and break up the echo chamber, you do become open to more and more ideas, and that's usually a good thing. So the idea that Lacey Green is like a betrayer or a bad person for simply pursuing her life is very weird, and certainly the calls to harass her and make her admit that the pursuit of her own happiness is somehow inherently wrong is very sinister. And again, these are all of the things you accused Gamergate of, even though I've never seen anybody from a credible voice in Gamergate engage in any sort of behavior like this. So back to this blog that's now come up, and obviously we know these bottom feeders, they all like to congregate on Tumblr. This should give you an idea of the size of the ridiculousness of this issue, right? Keep in mind, Richard, what are you talking about again? 2 YouTubers deciding to date, right? That's it. You just move on with your life and you don't give a fuck. As I said, I didn't care that Lacey Green had got red-pilled. She hasn't been red-pilled. She is just being less of a cunt because she's broadened her horizons a little bit. Congratulations. This is what people do. But just look at this blog, mate. And it's called Why Lacey Green Sucks. And it is a compilation of all of the sins that Lacey Green has committed. Keeping in mind, the overwhelming majority of these sins happened back when she was in the feminist fold. So back when everybody tacitly approved of her behavior. Now, all of those things you did wrong, we're going to bring up because you have been outed from the cult. You've got to look at some of these things, Sam. It's mental. It is so mental. She made a video in 2009 about how she sucks. That's a reason why she sucks.
So,
do you know what I mean?
Yourself is bad.
Yeah, she made a video in 2009 saying she sucks, so we're right. She does suck.
She even admitted herself. Checkmate.
8 years ago. It's fucking mental, isn't it?
Look into it, bro.
She apparently donated $14,000 to a homophobic charity that experiments on homeless youth to try and prove that they are sex abuse. She then barely acknowledged it was a mistake, but gave nowhere near the amount of coverage to the fact that the charity was a sham as she did for when she was raising funds for it. Now, again, that might be bad. I think we've all been caught out by charities not being, what, they look like they are, like PETA, for example, or PETA, if you're American. They kill dogs. They kill perfectly healthy dogs. Wicked, Great. Good. Thought you were for the ethical treatment of animals. Turns out they're not.
No one wants them. Slay them.
Yeah. I mean, but no, there's even stories about PETA people abducting dogs from perfectly fine homes and having them killed.
What the fuck?
Yeah, you can look at that if you want. I mean, it's fucking crazy. Here's a video where she perpetuates the stereotype of a Jewish nose and then makes light of domestic abuse. I mean, this is insanity that they have fine-tooth combed all of her videos, all of her output, all of her decisions in what is a very long YouTube career to basically create a document, a testament to why it's okay to harass, demean, and smear her publicly. And the funny thing is, some of this stuff overlaps with things that the left just do inherently. Look at this. She insists on defending paedophiles, saying that while paedophilia is bad, we must treat them like human beings. All of the left believe that now. I mean, we've had that discussion on this show. So imagine how damaged you have to be to collect this. Imagine how fucked your life is. Like, again, I'm being deadly serious here. Imagine, okay, my favorite feminist YouTuber is dating somebody who has been critical of feminism in the past. Time to go over her entire life's work and find things people won't like.
Mentally ill.
And as I said, it's only been a few days. Look at how exhaustive this list is. This is insanity. This is insanity. These people are so far fucking gone. And of course, where does it end? Where does it end up? It ends up exactly where we knew it would. From the moment it was clear Lacey Green was going to not be as zealous in her application of feminist ideology, guess what happened? She puts a tweet out. Well, welcome to what we've been trying to tell you, Lacey. Right? And obviously, I don't condone this. This is fucking bad. Shout out to whichever SJW asshole leaked my private info on Facebook and sent a torrent of people to harass me and my family for colonizing. For fucking colonizing. So she's been, doxxed, her family harassed. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird that you're not going to see all these leftist blogs write this story. If Lacey Green had been doxxed and harassed by a guy who was complaining about her ruining video games, this would be front page news. This would be in The Independent. This would be in the BBC. She'd be being interviewed on a major national TV network. She would probably be offered a book deal. Richard, you're exaggerating. No. This happened to Zoe Quinn. And she would be lauded as just another example of a brave woman who ventured out onto the internet and was beaten down by the patriarchy. Now that it's the cult of social justice doing it to them, again, like it was with the Crash Override Network leaks, where's the coverage? This is still a woman in distress, ladies and gentlemen. This is still a woman being harassed on the internet. Is it newsworthy or isn't it? And again, it comes back to this old adage, the mantra that social justice fucks believe: no bad tactics, only bad targets. And she is now deemed a very good target because she is turned. I mean, this is exactly what cults do. I want you to think about Scientology. Anyone who's watched Going Clear, will know what I'm talking about. You watched that, right? You watched that Scientology documentary. And
I watched Louis Theroux's new one as well.
Yeah, I mean, not as good, nowhere near as good. Like Going Clear.
It's a cool concept, though.
Yeah, it was like an idea for a sketch. It wasn't enough to sustain a full documentary. He interviewed all the same people. I mean, unfortunately, some of the go-to guys are unhinged. I mean, an ex-Scientologist is going to be a faulty narrator by definition, because you've got to be fucking mentally ill to get in. And if you've existed in it for 20 years and then you come out, anything you say is going to be tainted because you were obviously fucked in the feed to be in Scientology. But, do you remember the Squirrel Busters? Do you remember that bit?
Yeah.
So there was a guy called Marty Rathbun. He was one of the enforcers for Scientology. And when you leave, they call you a squirrel, I think. And I'm trying to think why that is. Let me see if I can just find that quickly, because it is weird, right? Why do they call you squirrels? They do explain it. The term squirrel is used to refer to people who talk about the ideas of Scientology outside of the church. They call you squirrels. So they had this thing called Squirrel Busters, right? Which is anybody that talks to the press about Scientology, anyone who talks about it openly and honestly, has literally a team of people following them, harassing them. And we saw this video footage time and time again. People coming up, what are you being a squirrel for, Marty? Blah, 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 putting a camera in his face. Do you know what you've done? Just utter fucking madness. And it's because you've tried to leave the cult and talk openly about your experiences within the cult. Oh my me, doesn't this sound fucking familiar? And where are the media? Where are the same publications that ran a 2 to 3 year news cycle? It's still going on now. I still read articles to this day, doing what they call game dropping, where you just throw Gamergate in there. Trump's America it started with Gamergate. There's no link. There's no tangible link. The only thing the Trump movement has in common, the 4chan movement has in common, the Gamergate movement has in common, is they are sick of political correctness and social justice lunatics. That's the only common thread. If y'all would just calm down, there'd be nothing to talk about. But now, again, harassment, completely fair fucking game. And I just, when is someone just going to write about this honestly and truthfully? And I'm talking about a credible outlet, an outlet that doesn't get dismissed for being ideologically compromised. Heat Street will write about it. Breitbart Tech will probably write about it, right? Where next? Where do we go to after that? Why aren't the same publications that were writing about the horror that Anita Sarkeesian had to go through, a lot of it fictitious. What about Brianna Wu? Nothing credible about any of the threats that were made about her. What about the FBI investigation that looked into the whole of Gamergate? Document was released as part of the Freedom of Information request recently, and they said we found nothing in here that was actionable or credible. Yet I'm still hearing about how it's a campaign of harassment. Nobody's ever written the actual truth because they're not interested in it. But here's the thing. You don't have to be interested in the truth. Just do what you did last time. Just write about, here's a group of people. Here's a group of people that are very easy to portray as frothing, foaming lunatics, and they are harassing a woman on the internet for daring to date somebody they don't approve of. And in their mental illness and lunacy, they believe they've got some right to dictate that because you are a personality. You are a celebrity. What is there not to... This is exactly what you should want to write about mainstream media. This is what you were writing about with Gamergate. This is what, CSI or whatever that fucking god-awful show was when they did that. They just leveled up. That ridiculous Gamergate-themed crime episode. You all loved it then. Why not now? It's the same thing. Female victim, angry mob on the internet, mostly anonymous. Targeted, structured harassment. Have at it. And there's actual evidence of it this time because it's actually happening this time. Not like last time, where it was literally the word of the victim. Have you got any proof of this? Yeah, here's a threat. Brianna, you forgot to log out of your alternate account. And we can see that that's actually you. Misogyny! Yeah, no, you actually made up a threat against yourself there very visibly. And you're now a laughing stock because of it. Misogyny! I'm off to drop rocks from the moon. Where's the media now? They don't give a fuck. Lacey Green will find this out. She might not have been red-pilled before. She's going to find this out right now. With all of the fucking bottom-feeder journalists that she knew who would run her stories, run her babbling insanity, that even showed solidarity with her mad, demented, inflammatory tweet on Election Day, right? They'll be nowhere to find right now. Nobody is going to write to your fucking rescue. You are persona non grata now to the liberals and the leftists. You will never get another column inch for as long as you are getting an inch from Chris Reagan. That's it. And this is the bullshit that we've been trying to fucking tell you about. I'm sorry you have to find out about it this way. But just insane. And I know that's not the end of it. That's definitely not the end of it. Because they are literally presenting themselves as being right. I mean, they're still tweeting... now, as of today, tweeting articles, which, again, it's Heat Street, and stuff like this. And they're going, yeah, she's a bloody bitch. Look at this, right? Just look at this. I mean, it's not even just this one person that, I'm talking about. Like, look at this, right? This is another one, Moose-splainer. It is concerning when a major feminist figure dates this guy. Because of his misogyny and ableist slurs. So I'm like, fuck, what's Chris Reagan bloody said? He's mental, that Chris Reagan, isn't he? So I'm going to look. The guy, that guy is the Citizen Kane of being a phenomenal cunt. Cunt. He says the word cunt. Are we what? Are we children? He's a retarded cunt. That was the ableist language. So retarded and cunt speech now. You know, these are the people like, well, if you're a feminist, you cannot date anyone who's ever used the word retarded.
Or cunt.
Or cunt. You can't do it. You can't do it. It's ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous. But yeah, no doubt we'll be hearing more about that. Probably when fucking, you know, some gender analyzer has decided to behead an effigy of Lacey Green, and the leftist blogosphere is talking about how stunning and brave it all is. Complete
Chris
fucking...
Reagan broke me.
Yeah, he broke me. He broke me. But it's because it's a man's world. It's a man's world. Right, let me just wrap up with a couple of... just quick hits, quick news hits. You know about manspreading?
Yeah.
You know what that is, right?
Yeah. It's just sitting in a comfortable position.
Yeah, basically, manspreading is the crime of, because we have external genitalia, accommodating that external genitalia by just getting comfortable anywhere, really. It doesn't have to be public transport. It can be anywhere. And what feminists have decided is that what we're really doing is we're not just allowing our external genitalia to rest naturally as anybody with external genitalia would. What we're really doing is we are spreading as wide as we can because we're men. And we what sounded like Bill Cosby there for some reason, didn't I? Which is, I think, the triad. And then you spread, and then you drink the drink. And you go to sleep, and then I touch you. Then I just turned into a redneck at the end for no reason.
Straight to Deliverance.
Yes, straight to Deliverance. Got a full repertoire, haven't I? But anyway, so apparently what we are supposedly doing is, you know, we're deliberately spreading on purpose, right, to oppress women and to express male dominance. So manspreading, which I just want to say, it's not real. You don't just invent real things by taking a word that exists and then putting the word man in front of it. Mansplaining, manspreading, these things aren't real. These are just things in your mind. These are just things you've made up. You know, like I've sat next to you on a bus, Sam. I know about the horror of Sam spreading. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've sat next to you on a plane. Fucking hell, when will this Sam spreading ever end? I don't think I'm being oppressed, right? Like,
when we get off of it and my balls can breathe, that's when.
Good point. So anyway, I was amazed to read this report because, again, this is what happens, isn't it? The well-meaning idiots endorse the nonsense. The nonsense gets talked about and debated and discussed. And then eventually it's legislature, isn't it? You just got no choice in it anymore. It's become a rule or a law, sometimes even more frighteningly. This was, you know, Jordan Peterson's kind of point about why he didn't want to say z, zer, fee, fur, fee, fi, fo, fucking fum, however fucking many fucking pronouns, patch, piss, plop. You know, it's just nonsense, isn't it? You know, and not wanting to say made-up pronouns, made-up words, and just speak honestly and truthfully isn't hate speech. It's not reductive of anyone's living experience. It's just a fucking basic fundamental right that we should allow. So, Madrid, they've now banned manspreading on public transport. It's just banned, isn't it? That's not real thing.
How can he? That can't be allowed. That can't be a thing that's allowed to be enforced.
I mean, I imagine.
Is there an angle? Like, do my legs have to be more than 90 degrees?
I imagine this story will get debunked. What will happen is, like some representative from the fucking Madrid transportation system will come out and go, "Oh, this is the right-wing media completely spinning it." Yeah, it's like what we see with the "There's no war on Christmas, but you can't say Christmas." Like, well, hang on, you know, it's like that. Like there wasn't a war on Christmas at one point, and then actually people did start banning the word Christmas. You know, it's like it's this weird. It's strange how it happens. Like I I remember I was working on. I was working as a very low-level journalist at one point, and I saw one of those stories in the news of the world: Christmas banned in small town, I got in touch with the local council, and they explained it. It was a perfectly valid explanation that they're not banned Christmas. They're just not going to pay to have Christmas decorations in a particular part of the town because they're cutting back on their budgets. It was something fairly rational and non-sinister. Now, all of the hysteria that was completely fake and misplaced back then is justified now, because it's like, yeah, we just don't say that word anymore. But why? Because it might upset people and that. Yeah, but what about the people who it doesn't upset? Why? Which are the overwhelming majority of people? Why are we doing this? Yeah, well, yeah, it's just for a more inclusive society, innit? So just say holidays. Yeah, but we say all the other words. Look, are you a fucking Nazi or something? And this is it, and this is how it happens, and this is why you've got to resist this stuff, unfortunately, because it gets taken to fucking illogical and stupid conclusions and stupid extremes every time. So here we have it, Madrid. They are banning manspreading on public transit services. Specifically, the city's municipal transportation company, EMT, will be implementing new signs in all trains and buses in the hope to dissuade manspreaders from encroaching on a personal space of other riders. The new information icon indicates the prohibition of taking a seating position that bothers other people is to remind transport users to maintain civic responsibility and respect the personal space of everyone on board. The sign features a stick man spreading his legs in a cartoonishly large proportions on public transport with a big red X and respect the space of others. For women in Madrid, this news has been the culmination of months of petitioning and campaigning against manspreaders. I mean, again, they're still stoning women to death in some parts of the world, dear feminists. Please, like, can we go and save those ladies? Can we save the women that have suffered from fucking female genital mutilation? Can we save the women having to be executed for having affairs? Can we campaign for these people, please? Can we not campaign against the very non-real horror of manspreaders? But yeah, they've campaigned for months to get it. They even had a viral hashtag. Didn't take off probably, but it's Madrid sin manspreading. Obviously, that's without Madrid sun without, that's what it means. So Madrid without manspreading. And it went all over. It went to Madrid's mayor and Madrid's president. And it was explained as manspreading is the practice of men sitting with their legs wide open on public transport, taking up other people's space. It's not something that occurs sporadically. If you pay attention, you'll see it's a very common practice. And now, boo, like, here it is. We get the law, we get the rule. New York had done this before, which was in 2014. They had a campaign called "Dude, Please Stop the Spreading." I'd like to stop the spread of these ridiculous ideas and campaigns. Yeah, it's just about being considerate. Ultimately, there's no need to gender specify it one way or the other. Ridiculous. Just can't get my head around it at all. So there's that manspreading. There was one other thing. I definitely had another story that I just wanted to end on, just a little quick one. Oh yeah, but it's horrible. Yeah, I don't think we can end on it because then people will have nightmares and stuff. So yeah, probably shouldn't. I'm going to see if I can find a palate cleanser. A little funny story. Oh yeah, there was something. Fuck. Yes, that was it. There was a media thing. They'd done it again, Sam. They told a lie. Where the fuck did I put it? God, I gotta practice these shows a lot better. Oh, this was it. It was the 8-year-old girl, mate. You see this?
No.
Right. So there was an 8-year-old girl. It was reported across multiple places that this 8-year-old girl had been pulled from a soccer match right? Because she had short hair, and therefore people thought that she was a boy, right? But that isn't what happened. That isn't what happened at all. Actually, what had happened was the girl had been accidentally registered by her team as being a boy. And as a result, she had to be disqualified for faulty paperwork. And it was nothing to do with her haircut whatsoever. I got to find this. Because, yeah, it blew my mind. It reeked of bullshit when I saw it. Because I was like doing what I usually do and looking at all the bullshit fucking stories for I Hate It Here. And I saw this story, 8-year-old girl.
Going on BuzzFeed, a classic source.
Obviously. But yeah, I've got a complete list. So it was reported on BuzzFeed, ESPN, the Washington Post, the New York Times, right? I mean, this was reported everywhere about how this girl was kicked out for having short hair. But one of these alternate, websites and blogs, the ones that get filed under fake news, actually decided to contact, the league themselves rather than just interview the girl and the parent. They decided to contact the league and find out. And again, you can see all the headlines. Girl 8 booted from soccer tournament for looking like boy. Right? And this was what they said. The girl even said they thought I was a boy. Well, why did they think you were a boy? It's not wrong. Tournament officials basically said that Millie Hernandez was disqualified because they put her down as a boy on the official roster. So they came up during the game and said, yeah, this individual's registered as a boy. It's improper paperwork. And what's also interesting is the team had broken other tournament rules by sloppy paperwork. They'd had the same player registered on multiple teams. I mean, the coach, the administrative people running this junior soccer team are just a fucking omni-shambles. They're just an idiot. They've got girls down as boys. They got fucking people in multiple teams, all against league rules. And unsurprisingly, their teams are getting disqualified and people are getting pulled off the pitch because somebody has to enforce the rules. But the way it was reported in the press was that this was an act of prejudice, that this girl, because she had short hair, was being discriminated against. Not what happened. So I found that out off Alex Griswold's Twitter feed. So, yeah, you got to have them pronoun badges. That would have fixed the problem. But it's just mad, isn't it? Like, that people just went straight to, again, it's kind of like that Nottingham lady, the fucking super mutant. They just literally went down and interviewed an 8-year-old kid and said, right, you're 8, your grasp of reality will be fine, won't it? I mean, don't need to double check what you're saying. So why did you get removed? They thought I was a boy and it is because of my hair, right? That's it. That's what we'll print. Hello, league administrators over here with actual documents. Nah, we don't need to talk to you. We got an 8-year-old girl saying she was discriminated against. That'll do. That'll run. That'll play out well. And I just wanted to show you this. And then we're definitely going. We're definitely ending the show. I just saw this today, right? There's like, everyone's talking about this. This epidemic of obesity, Sam. Obesity. No laughing matter. If you're fat, if you're overweight like me, you are putting yourself at risk, especially as you get older. You're not going to bounce back. You are going to have health problems, higher risk of heart disease, higher risk of cancer. All I've got to do is stop eating delicious, tasty fucking meat, delicious, tasty, fattening foods, delicious sugars. Stop pounding my body with alcohol, which is where most of my calorific intake comes from, probably. And I'll be all right. But I don't want to do that, do I? Because it's delicious and wonderful and lovely, and maybe I can handle having a beer belly as long as I get to drink beer. I'll play. I'm going to play the casino of ill health, Sam. I'm going to roll that dice and just see what happens. And hopefully, I avoid the beaters, and I don't have to have a leg off or anything, and I'll be all right. But in the Financial Times today. I don't even know why this is so funny to me. But there's now something. There's an epidemic of what they're calling super obesity.
So
they've supersized obesity, Sam.
Double fat, y'all.
In Mexico, mate. They've only gone and done it. Obesity wasn't enough. They've got a super obesity epidemic. Just look at the size of that cunt. Juan Pedro Franco weighs 6. Oh, did I not give it you?
I don't know. I can't find it.
Right, I'll have it again. Juan Pedro Franco weighed nearly 600 kilograms, a world record. He was 33. Yeah, I know, innit?
Landed to get that one.
Yeah. Congrats, everybody. Yeah.
Couldn't celebrate that much because he's fucking stopped breathing.
Super obesity, Sam. Right? He was bedridden for 7 years. 600 kilograms, by the way, is 1,320 pounds. Now, unsurprisingly, he had some health problems, mate.
Yeah.
He had diabetes, he had hypertension, and lung problems, and chronic swelling in the legs.
How much have we got to eat every day to reach that point? I wonder what the maths is on that. That's got to be at least 15,000 calories a day, like minimum.
I don't know. But here's the thing. He was off all the charts for medical. Right. That's what a doctor says. Jose Antonio Castaneda says, and he specializes with obese people. He sees 8 patients in Mexico that are dealing with like gastric bands and things like that, deal with obesity. He said he was off all the charts, Sam. What do you even like? Well, yep. Apparently, you should have died some time ago. Let's just suck some of it out and see if you live.
How about today you have 3 pizzas, all right, mate, and you lose 4 stone?
Not 10. Right? But it's bonkers, isn't it? He says here, Mexico is suffering an obesity epidemic, and now with stuff like this, they're saying this is like the rise of super obesity, right? Before Mr. Franco, 2 other Mexicans held the record for the world's fattest person. Both died. Of course they did.
They died.
Yeah,
yeah,
right?
They did, yeah.
And he says here, right, he's seen something like 10,000 people who are pre-diabetic because of their, huge obesity. It's mental, mate.
He's more fat than human at this point.
Yeah, I can't believe how. I thought to myself, look, some things will happen here. Like obesity, right? This is how on a long enough time scale, that'll be fine. That problem will get solved. Scarcity, certain foods will get cut out, refined sugars, blah blah blah. There'll be taxes. Something will happen, and we'll all stop getting so fat, right? And I can't believe you're zooming in on the content, but yeah, it's super obesity. Mexico, this is wild, mate. They do like to chug a lot of soda drinks down there,
Yeah, they do love them.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just mad. Apparently, it's something like what was it? This guy says 80% of the mortality in this country can be attributed to obesity-related complications. I mean, that and all the drug cartel murders.
Yeah, and those.
Yeah, once we get past that, it's all the fatties. Yeah. Fuck me. Super obesity, Sam. That's the world we live in. Obesity wasn't enough. Look at that. What are you doing? Why are you just
just staring at him and bruh. Why not?
Be serious, Sam. Fucking hell, bruh. Oh, it's like someone just planted a fucking face on a giant thumb. It's so annoying. Right, so anyway, that's the show. I think we'll wrap it up there. I think we've dealt with enough insanity. It's the election, innit?
Yep, tomorrow.
Actually, voting takes place tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of fucked it, didn't I, having that very necessary day off, because I did want to do a British election special.
kind of fucked it now, aren't you? You have to do a recap.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it'll be interesting. I'll just say this before the show ends. A lot of people might be surprised by this, but I guess if I was casting a vote, I'd probably be going for Corbyn at the moment, and that might disappoint a lot of people. But here's the thing I just want to say, that I will. The one there's a lot of things I loathe in politicians. The two things that I loathe most of all in this order: corruption and incompetence. And I got to say, the way the Conservatives have run this campaign since calling the snap election, I mean, obviously the Conservatives are corrupt. I mean, all politicians are to a certain degree. This particular Conservative government has some real heavy hitters in it. But the way with which Theresa May has handled this campaign is absolutely fucking mind-boggling. And that isn't to say there isn't incompetence on the Labour side, because there absolutely fucking is. But fortunately, they cut that particular cancer out. I don't know if you saw Diane Abbott, right? Diane Abbott, right? Think about this. She's the shadow Home Secretary. I mean, she rose to prominence in kind of that Blair cabinet. A lot of people have had question marks about Diane Abbott for some time. She's a fucking absolute shambles. She went and did a fucking interview on Sky News to discuss a report about home security to deal with the terrorist threat that she hadn't even read. And she tried to freestyle it like a kid doing an assignment, at school, right? Just check this out. Just play this, just to fucking end it. I couldn't believe she did this. This is British politics, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever you want to say about the American system being terrifying. Just give me the 3, 2, 1.
Have you actually read the report?
Hang on. Independence Champion. 3, 2, 1, go.
I have.
Okay, what about
when
you talk about what about the physical resilience? Again, I'm referring to this because it seemed prescient.
Yes, I mean, I think physical resilience is important. I think that...
But there was a specific aspect of physical resilience.
Well, I think that, physical resilience is important.
Yes, I mean, but the specific aspect was he talked about putting up more barriers in the light of the Nice attacks. He mentioned that in October 2016.
Yes,
yes.
We're now putting up barriers.
I remember that, yes.
Bridges. And you'd think we might have done that before.
Mate, she's stoned out her mind. It's over, boy.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, that the full video is way more excruciating. What's interesting is she was dropped immediately the next day because she had been doing a good job but was suffering from ill health. Now, I suppose ill health would explain the nonsense, because this isn't her only gaffe or faux pas on the campaign trail. I mean, she's been a bumbling train wreck the entire time. But here's the thing: Labour know that they're in with a fucking puncher's chance of winning this election, and they've got rid of somebody who is an absolute buffoon. I mean, that's encouraging to me. Diane Abbott was giving ammunition to the Conservatives at a time when it's going to come down to like one hot button issue, one scandal, one story breaking between now and when the ballots close. But, I got to say, I think Corbyn, he's done and said things I disagree with. He is not. Some people have even gone so far as to compare him to Trump in the sense that he offers a non-political alternative. Anyone who tells you that, massively ignorant. Jeremy Corbyn hasn't held a regular job, actually. He might seem like a man of the people. I don't think he's held a single job outside of politics. He's the definition of a career politician. So he doesn't have that Trump factor in that sense. But for me, the key issue has to be that a lot of the mainstream media have said Corbyn is weak on terrorism. And they've used, oh, look, one of his cabinet members said 2 years ago, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, which is true. I mean, that's not about the rights or wrongs or ethics of what these people do. That's about perception and just the nature of reality, right? Like, that's what that quote means. And they did say it, and I don't think something you say 2 years ago should be used to beat you over the head necessarily now, unless it's valid, which it's certainly not valid when we're discussing Jeremy Corbyn's suitability to lead the country. But he has talked with the IRA. He has talked with people that have some very dubious politics and terrorist organizations and all of that sort of thing. And that's worth keeping in mind. But that being said, for me, the big issue that should probably make people think about the Conservative government, well, there's two. First is the manifestos. The Conservatives have produced a non-costed manifesto. They've changed their mind several times on the campaign trail. I mean, completely flip-flop. They literally thought they could half-arse it, put out a manifesto to the public, and that people would just swallow it whole. But they put out an uncosted document. They can't explain where the money's going to come from. They can't even tell you, say, for example, for your fuel allowance, when it's going to kick in, how much it's going to cost you, who's going to have to pay, who isn't. I mean, in any form of means testing, people have got to know going in before they vote for it. It's incredibly disrespectful to the electorate. That's another reason why I can't get on board with Theresa May. I think crucially as well, the other issue isn't just that, you know, Labour produced a costed document. The numbers might be wrong, but they've put the numbers on paper. You can do your own research into whether the numbers are wrong. This is what they're proposing. Conservative document is nonsense. But the other key issue has to be, at a time when we are seeing increased terrorist attacks, we are saying Jeremy Corbyn is going to be weak on terrorism. Jeremy Corbyn is in bed with these radical foreign governments. Nonsense. I mean, apart from the fact Theresa May has gone and lobbied and done business on behalf of HSBC, I think it was, in Saudi Arabia. I mean, where we know that's the home of Wahhabist and Salafist extremism. And we know that they funded thousands of mosques that preach Wahhabism worldwide. On top of that, when she was Home Secretary, was she Home Secretary for like 5-6 years? I mean, it's not like, you know, she's done it for a while. One of the first actions she took, anyway, was she cut MI5. She cut their staff by a total of 5%. She cut security and intelligence services by another 5%. She cut the GCHQ by 5% and removed 20,000 police nationally from the overall numbers. You know, you take 20,000 police off the front line, you take 1,300 trained firearm officers off the front line and 26,000 community support staff, which you can discuss the merits of them. They are, you know, mall cops effectively, but they do give relief to proper police. What she has effectively done is she has created, as Home Secretary, whatever the reasons behind the cuts, she has inarguably created a less safe Britain. At a time when we face an increased risk from jihadists. There's no getting away from that as being true. Now, you might say, well, Corbyn might have done the same thing, but he wasn't there to do the same thing. You've got to punish the negligence that people engage in, not punish the negligence that people might have done if they'd been given the job. It was my principal reason for saying why I couldn't support Clinton in an election. She's been demonstrably corrupt. Has Trump, not in politics, because he's never been in politics. You might think that's a flimsy reason, but I judge people on the merits. So, like I say, to be in a position where we've had all of these like firearm officers taken off, you know, there was I've got to show this. I've got to just show this video, and then I promise I won't rant and rave about it, and I'll let you go because I know it's getting late for you, Sam. My bad. But let me just find this police video. There was a police officer who literally called them out and said that Theresa May is lying about the things she did as Home Secretary. No, that's an article saying Jeremy Corbyn must be stopped because he supported Sinn Féin. That was in the Telegraph. Here we go. This is one here. It's a Facebook video. I don't know how they play.
I'll give you the YouTube one now, that's fine.
Okay. But yeah, it's the Ben Priestley. And this is where they talk about how they've lied about crime rates. The Conservative government has completely lied about crime rates. Forget just jihadist stuff. They've completely lied about how safe your country is by using, a variety of techniques to fudge the figures. Like, there's a lot of people out there who'll say, Britain doesn't feel safer. It doesn't feel safer, but the statistics say it is. Yeah, but the statistics are bullshit. They've completely made them up. It's a fabrication. Have you got a YouTube equivalent?
Yeah, I linked it to you.
Oh, good. Right, well, let's do it then. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Oh, no, that isn't the one I'm talking about. This is that's a separate one. There's 2 police officers calling out. This is the one about crime statistics is Ben Priestley. Let me just see if I can find the YouTube of this. Yeah, here it is. Devastating. Right, here's a Twitter embed of the video, which we know will work. So it's only 2 minutes, but let me know when you're good to go.
Okay. He's just not loading. There we go. Now it's spinning. Right.
I think
3, 2, 1, go.
One of the issues that we're most concerned about following on from those cuts has been an increase in crime that we've seen in England and Wales since 2012-13. And this is something which the government has sought to avoid, but we think there's a connection, there's an analysis that the public will be doing in relation to these figures, and some of those figures are truly, truly shocking. Since 2012-13, there's been a 29% increase in possession of weapons. This is police recorded crime. These are the crimes that the police themselves, through rigorous process, have deemed to be crimes. A 29% increase in possession of weapons, a 65% increase in violence against the person, a 38% increase in assault with injury. Sexual offences are up 97%, and public order offences are up 54%. Now, if those figures weren't shocking enough, this government, which has claimed repeatedly and also claimed in its in the Conservative Party manifesto that crime is falling. But nothing could actually be further from the truth. The government relies on the Crime Survey for England and Wales, which is an opinion poll which disregards homicide, it disregards sexual offences, it disregards crimes against business. It is a very, very small proportion of overall crime. So the government relies on those figures to tell the electorate that crime is falling, whereas recorded crime figures tell exactly the opposite story. Now, I'll return to the issue of policing cuts and the effect that's had on our members' ability to police the workplaces and the places that they are overseeing. And I think the most worrying aspect of that is if you look at the 37%, 38% decline in PCSOs, they now say they are no longer able to gather that important intelligence on a day-to-day basis about criminal and potentially terrorist activity in the communities that they are policing.
And there you go. You know, this is an absolutely shocking indictment of what's happened to policing services in Britain under a Conservative government that promised they would put more police officers on the streets, that they would make a safer Britain. This was one of their pledges when they came in, that they knew we were facing the risks of radicalization. Think about that. Think about that statistic: a 29% increase in people having weapons. At the same time, we've got 23,000 known jihadists. Do you want to see another Lee Rigby? You know, I don't. I'm tired of it. I'm bored of it. I'm bored of seeing people being killed on the streets of Britain, not because of anything other, really, than police aren't able to gather the intelligence to prevent these crimes. And when these crimes occur, they can't get the appropriate response. What they did in London, for the most recent attack, was nothing short of superhero efforts, considering how slashed to the bone the police services are right now. And in fact, the YouTube video Sam has dug out, which we won't play because Sam's definitely entitled to some off time, is, you know, they say explicitly It's police officers saying explicitly that if this attack had happened in any other city, we wouldn't have seen the response we did in London, which was quite clear that from these attacks being announced and perpetrated, 8 minutes later, the suspects were dead. That's unbelievable effort. But we keep hearing again and again and again about how local mosques, local imams reported these people to the police, but the intelligence can't go anywhere. There's no follow-up. Then you take community officers out of communities, and do you know what they're putting on the streets now? This is absolutely true. Go Google this. Because they can't afford to have firearm-trained officers, actual street police officers in communities anymore, they're getting soldiers to do as overtime military policing. Do you think all right, if you were a British Muslim and you weren't a radical, you were just a regular everyday guy who just happened to be a Muslim and you just happened to live in Britain, would you feel more comfortable telling a community police officer who has been part of the community, who you know, whose face you recognise, who you might have seen walking up and down your street, might have come out and dealt with a noise complaint for you, might have stopped some suspicious-looking kids down the bottom, might have helped you find your car when it got stolen? Do you feel comfortable telling him about the fucking jihadist next door who's been saying very strange things? Or do you want to see a British fucking soldier? Because there's still a stigma there where there's no getting away from the fact that we have fought wars that should never have been fought in the Middle East. There is no getting away from that. You can be for the troops all you want. But the Western foreign policy has been about resource gathering. It's been disgusting. And it's set off this cycle of misery we're locked into now. We should never have had that war in Iraq. Never. But this is where we're at now. Jeremy Corbyn, by the way, opposed that war in Iraq and said this would happen and was right. So we live in an unsafer Britain now as a direct result of Conservative negligence. I don't know if Labour can fix that problem. As I said, I think we're too far down the road. But I think people should be fucking mindful of giving Theresa May the complete control of the country when she can't even run an election campaign, keep a fucking story straight, and has the fucking nerve to come out and say enough is enough after the terror attack on London, when she is the person directly responsible in 6 years as being Home Secretary of slashing police to a point where the police, all they can do is hopefully shoot the suspects and bury the dead. And that's bullshit. And people should think about that before they go and cast a vote for that cunt. 100%. Because there's blood on her hands. If you think there ain't, you ain't been following the fucking story. So we could have done a fucking whole special on what I got to say about that. Because it ain't like Corbyn ain't a fuck up and ain't said some dumb stuff. But right now, where this election's poised, with everything else that's going on in Britain, there's only one way to cast your vote. And you cannot put Theresa May. If you want a safer Britain right now, it can't be her steering the fucking ship. Simple as that. So there you go. People are going to say, oh, but Richard, I thought you were a Trump supporter. I thought you were right-wing. I thought you were a conservative. Nah, I play the odds any election. I debate the issues, right? And I got to back Corbyn on this, 100%. Are you going to go cast your vote?
Yeah, I will be. Also for Corbyn.
Thought so.
I mean, anyone who lives in Wales and votes for fucking Conservatives, you already disgust me and everything you represent. So get the fuck out of my eyes if you live in South Wales and you vote Conservative.
Yeah, it's the thing, isn't it? I mean, the Welsh, it was a Welshman that invented our National Health Service. Again, slashed to the bone, not just by the Conservatives, it's got to be said. I mean, Tony Blair, when times were good, when the economy was good, he created an unsustainable model for the NHS with more bureaucrats, you know, the classic too many chiefs, not enough Indians, if that phrase isn't racist these days. But, you know, Labour don't want to privatise the NHS. They're pledging more money into the fucking NHS. Conservatives, well, you want to explore the privatisation options. I mean, it's already happening, guys. Privatisation is already happening. Virgin have bought health clinics. Trust me, I live in the US right now. There's a great standard of care out here, but it will put you in the fucking poorhouse. I'm lucky. I get full benefits and I got a great job. Not everybody gets to say that. It's not a route we want to go down. So if you're British and you're watching this show, thanks for staying up with us. Think about that when you go to the ballots. You know, I don't know the rules about campaigning on Twitch. I'm just telling you, there's some people that do not deserve the reins to power, right? You know, and on the big issues that we're facing right now, which, like I say, unfortunately, is the enemy within, with Britain, which isn't Islam, it's not Muslims, it's not British, it is jihadists, it is extremists, and healthcare, people still dying from treatable illnesses, wastage of money, reductions in essential public services, cuts to the mental health. Don't get me started on the dementia tax. And here's the thing. They had a 26-point lead when they called this snap election. It's why they did it. It's why Theresa May went from saying, we're not going to call a snap election, to doing it, because they thought they could just get away with it. They were so far ahead. Corbyn was a raving lunatic. The press were calling him an anti-Semite. Still only 13% of Jewish people in Britain support Labour because of that anti-Semitic scandal, supposed anti-Semitic scandal, because of what Ken Livingstone said. But they called it, and they've just bumbled and mumbled and fumbled their way through it, showing their incompetence. If Theresa May does lose to Jeremy fucking Corbyn, this is more mad than Clinton losing to Trump. Really. This should have been a non-issue. This should have been, we'll call the election and 4 more years of Conservatives. He's down to single digits now. So your vote can definitely make a difference. Don't put incompetence in power. Never do that. Never do that. Don't put the corrupt in power either. And if you've got a choice between an incompetent and a corrupt, probably go with the incompetent. You can fix stupidity. You can't fix evil. Right. Okay. There you go, Sam. I'm done. So that's the show. We talked about the election. We ticked all the boxes. We talked about all the madness. Now we can get a rest. So here's the thing. Obviously, same shit. You know, thanks for watching the show. Thanks to everybody. We had some esteemed guests, Twitch staff in the chat. Thanks very much. To everybody, again, remember, go check on YouTube. See if you've been unsubscribed. Let's keep the channel growing and ticking over. Let's not lose 50 to 100 subs every time we put a podcast out, because we want to do them daily. We want to put the stuff out here. We want to entertain you guys. We want this to be one of the premier talk shows on Twitch. Twitch is having a renaissance period now in terms of the content it's getting on here. Philly D says he's going to bring potentially his new show to Twitch. What a boon that would be for Twitch. We've got, H3H3 talking about doing a podcast here. You know, Keemstar went straight to the front page, top of the real life stream. This is what Twitch should be doing forever. They just did an announcement today where they were talking about studio and hosting opportunities. Twitch will be like a Netflix soon for gaming. You know, I think it'll be programming its own content, and that's the direction it should go. The power in this vehicle has always been its medium. We want to be there. We're a big believer in the platform and a big believer in what it does. And thanks to all the people who support it. That said, there's going to be other ways to support the show, because we've got a store coming, Sam, haven't we?
Yep, it's actually ready right now. So
it's ready now.
Yeah.
Can we do the reveal?
Do you want to do it at the end of a 3-hour show, or should we do it at the start of a show?
All right, well, yeah, I'll do a show tomorrow. I'll get my shit together and I'll do a show. I'm writing this wicked report, man. It's going to be straight fire. Case opening sites. Corrupt as fuck.
That shit, yeah.
Yeah, mate, they're bent as a 9-bob note, mate.
Yeah, we know it.
Yeah, so we got to stop. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll do the big reveal tomorrow. T-shirts designed by our resident artist, Chloe Price. Trust me, it's going to be good. We think you're going to like the merchandise. We had lots of people say they'd wear certain T-shirts with certain catchphrases. We went through, we've done some designs, commissioned some designs, got a contract. We've agreed like a profit share because we like to support Chloe.
Flat shipping everywhere around the world, pretty much every country. I wanted to make sure that nobody's getting wrecked on imports. Pretty much wherever you live, you're only going to pay like $5 shipping or something.
Yeah, but we'll We'll go into it. We'll go into it, right? We'll go into it tomorrow at the start of the show. But anyway, so yeah, like, subscribe, all that good stuff on the channel. Thanks to all the people who subbed, all the people who donated. It does mean a lot. Thanks to all the people who stayed to watch. Thanks to all the people who are going to go and put a fucking cross next to Corbyn's fucking name tomorrow. And thanks to Sam for producing the show and being incredibly patient. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow, unless I decide to stay up typing and drinking all night, which I'm not going to do this time, probably. Going to get to bed. So thanks for watching the Richard Lewis Show. We'll see you tomorrow at a slightly earlier time. Until then, look after yourselves.